Chapter 647. By the time the Hidden Dragon High School student finished dealing with the money and transferred it all to Zhuoxiao's account had reached a whopping 100 billion. This situation made Master Zhuo, who had always been addicted to money, suddenly feel that he had no goal to strive for. For a moment he was actually at a loss. Damn it, I have too much money. Because this number was just as much as the bank's reserves. This feeling was really terrible. In order to not let himself have this feeling, in order to continue working hard and earning money, Zhuoxiaoduo did something weird. He turned off his phone's notifications. This way I won't know how much money I have, right? Next, I have to hold on to one thought, and that is no matter how much money I have, it will never be enough. So, continue to work hard and earn money, dog. For the next period of time, Zhuoxiaoduo went back to school, classes, the gravity room, cultivation, compression. This repeated cycle. Of course, he also took out an hour every day to read everyone's fortune and earn some luck points. Yes, he also took out an extra hour or so to beat up Li Chenglong, Xiangbing, Xiangchong, and the others. After everyone ate the Beast King meat, their strength increased greatly, and it was still increasing. Therefore, they all became very arrogant. How could they not teach them a lesson and establish their position as the boss? Under Zhuoxiao's hard work, the students of Class 1 returned to being humble and cautious in no time. Another change was that the number of people who came to snatch tables from Zhuoxiaoduo at lunchtime had suddenly increased. Snatching tables was not for revenge. Snatching tables had now evolved into the fastest way to get to know each other. Every person who came to snatch a table had to say a word of thanks first. When others snatched tables from Zhuoxiaoduo also snatched tables from others. He quickly defeated all the Year 2 students and began to advance towards the Year 3 students. Soon he reached Class 6. As a new Year 1 student who had just entered the school, he had defeated all the Year 2 students and challenged the Year 3 seniors. Every time he won, he was making history and creating a legend. The only difference was the extent to which this legend could be written, and how far it could go. As Zhuoxiao's battle achievements became more and more glorious, Zhuoxiao's popularity within the Hidden Dragon High School also became better and better. People might be grateful if there were only gifts, such as Beast King meat and a spatial ring, but they wouldn't admire or worship him. However, along with his tyrannical and invincible martial strength, he was able to continuously fight and win against those of a higher level. Then, everyone had a different feeling. Meng Zhongjun had once said something, and it was almost what all the freshmen were thinking. Originally, I knew that I was a genius. When I was in number 1 middle school in the garrison shop, I was always the champion. After I came to the Hidden Dragon High School, I still had the extravagant hope of being the champion. However, this thought was crushed by Zhuoxiaoduo as soon as I came here. Along the way, I actually started to worship this bitch. Now I don't know when, but I'm convinced. This sentence caused many people to bitterly smile in agreement. Yes, everyone was a genius, a proud son of heaven. Before coming to the Hidden Dragon High School, who would be convinced of who? 99% of them had the idea that they were number 1 in the world. However, after coming here, they discovered the difference between them and others. There were differences between geniuses, and there were even more geniuses above geniuses. First, they were unconvinced, then they were angry, then they chased after him and worked hard with all their might. However, after all their efforts were fruitless, they could only look up, and constantly look up. Then, this kind of looking up turned into reverence and even admiration. From admiration to complete submission, from complete submission to worship, and from worship, it slowly transformed into another kind of mentality. Although no one was willing to admit this kind of mentality, they still retained their last bit of pride to support it. However, everyone understood. This kind of mentality was called submission. During this time, Li Chenglong would desperately chew raw meat whenever he had the time. He wouldn't stop chewing even if his cheeks hurt. Not only did he not pay for the meat, there was also a lot of it. His cultivation could be said to have advanced by leaps and bounds. In addition, every time this guy advanced by leaps and bounds, after every compression he would have a fight with Zhuoxiao. He would be beaten up, and his restless spirit energy would be directly beaten up. Then, he would continue to eat, continue to compress, continue to fight, continue to be beaten up, and continue to eat. After repeating this cycle, Li Chenglong had only eaten 15 kilograms of king-level astral beast meat before reaching the point where his cultivation could no longer increase. This result made Li Chenglong almost cry out loud. I have a whole 50 kilograms of spirit meat. I thought I could rely on this precious meat to soar all the way to the cloud transformation realm. In the end, my body assimilated so quickly and reached the limit. There was still so much left. Zhuo Duo expressed his understanding. No one forced you to eat raw meat. However, Li Chenglong had also reached the point where he could no longer compress. This time, compared to the previous time, he had compressed one more time, reaching 10 times. Finally, it was time to prepare for the breakthrough. On Zhuo Xiaoduo's side, he was already at the 36th time of compression. He had also reached the limit and could no longer continue. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo still wanted to continue. It would be best if he could persevere until the 50th time. Therefore, he had been bitterly holding on, desperately smashing his dantian with the sledgehammer. He smashed himself every day until he cried out miserably and bled from his 7 orifices. However, he was still unwilling to give up and continued to smash his sledgehammer. When Xingtian checked his meridians in dantian, other than expressing his speechlessness, he was basically speechless. This is even more solid than the cloud transformation realm. You are still not satisfied. I'd like to see how far you can go with your cultivation. Once a demon wanted to defy the heavens and persevere to the end, the result would be really hard to say. During this period of time, outside of the Hidden Dragon High Martial competition, the mainland was shaken and major events happened one after another. It was said that there was a huge battle at the Umno Alliance and hundreds of mountains were destroyed. No one knew what happened, but after a few days, they received the news that the left and right heavenly kings had joined forces to go to the Umno Alliance and fought fiercely. The more specific reason was unknown, but the Umno Alliance was already furious. At the Sun and Moon Pass, the battle was on the verge of breaking out and exploding at any time. As the real instigator, the heavenly king of the right naturally knew that this battle would not happen. The situation was like this. After the flood which rejected the unreasonable request of the heavenly king of the right, Yu Dongtian began to think of a way. He had to think of a way. If he wanted to get those ingredients alone, it would be tantamount to courting death. Finally, after the incident at the Starry Mountain Range was over, the 5 venerables returned. Yu Dongtian's side was fully staffed, so he called the king of Zhualu. Well, if you have nothing to do, come over quickly. If you have something to do, put it aside first and come over quickly. My uncles will wants you to get something. Aunts will wants to hold a family banquet and lacks some ingredients. She wants you to help her. The king of Zhualu was confused. Master was lacking ingredients for a family banquet? How was that possible? What could an old man like him lack? Besides, if he lacked ingredients, he could have just come to me. Why did he need Yu Dongtian to pass on the message? Was it because he was shameless? Just tell me what's going on? Nothing much. Just tell me if you want to do it or not. If you don't want to do it, I'll reply immediately, Yu Dongtian said. Why didn't my master tell me personally? Isn't it the same if he told me? Do you think I would cheat you? That's very possible. Do you think this is the first day I met you? Forget it then. Since you don't want to do it, I'll tell Uncle Zhua and Aunt Zhua. You still have the nerve to ask me why they didn't come to you. Everyone knows that you're a lazy bastard. The elderly have their pride too. Wouldn't they be sad if you said you were busy? Now you really are busy. You unfilial disciple. Wait, what's the matter? What ingredients are you lacking? Why do you need me to do it personally? The king of Zhualu did not understand Yu Dongtian's strategy of retreating in order to advance in the future. Yu Dongtian rolled his eyes and held the phone. It's not a big deal. Just some ordinary things. I've been very busy recently. I wanted you to. Sai, forget it. I'll prepare it myself. Although it's a little difficult, it's just a little troublesome. As for the family banquet, you don't have to go. Anyway, Uncle Zhua didn't invite you. Yes, it's sad to have such a disciple who doesn't do anything. Ordinary things. The king of Zhualu was anxious. Who said I don't want to do it? Don't slander me. You really want to do it. Of course. No regrets. No regrets. Forget it. It's not like I can't do it myself. Why should I share half of the credit with you? Let me tell you, Yu Dongtian. You have to say it today whether you want to or not. Heavenly King Zhuo was anxious. He was now sure that this was a task that his master had assigned to Yu Dongtian. And Yu Dongtian was used to pushing the blame to others. The king of Zhuolu felt that his guess was almost 90% accurate. How could he not know Yu Dongtian's temper after so many years? However, even if he knew this, the king of Zhuolu had to take the blame. This made him very helpless. This was also the main reason why he had been avoiding this guy for so many years. Nothing good would come out of being with him. This was a fact. As Yu Dongtian had another bad side. He liked to complain. She was speechless. Most of the time it was Yu Dongtian who got into trouble. She had to deal with it with him. She was as tired as a dog. After dealing with it with great difficulty, he turned around and complained, "It wasn't me, it was him." And the worst thing was, Yu Dongtian was watched by his master's wife since he was young. This relationship was even closer than his own disciple. If Yu Dongtian's wife complained, he would not be able to handle it. Although master and mistress didn't arrange for him to get the ingredients, I told Zhuolu to work with me to get more ingredients to show filial piety to auntie. But this guy just wouldn't go no matter what. That guy is unfilial. Yu Dongtian would definitely say something like that. And he would definitely say something like that. He would add oil and sauce to the fire to add insult to injury. If he was sitting at home and the blame fell from the sky, the king of Zhuolu felt that it would be better to make a trip there. Wasn't it just getting some ingredients? Just ingredients. It was not a big deal. Chapter 648. The king of Zhuolu thought to himself, "I'll get more on the way and make your wife happy. That's my filial piety, isn't it? It's not that I don't want to tell you, but Aunt Zhua is going to prepare these ingredients for your junior brother and junior sister." Yu Dongtian said sarcastically, "The requirements are high. I'm afraid you won't dare to go." The king of Zhuolu smiled faintly and said confidently, "Is there any place in this world that I don't dare to go? Even if it's the Umno Alliance's heavenly wizard palace, I dare to go." Yu Dongtian slapped his thigh and said, "Then it's settled. Remember to bring your wife and your 8 messengers. I'll call my 5 venerables. Let's go together." The king of Zhuolu's brain almost exploded. Wasn't this lineup and strength too shocking? Sending out such an earth-shattering team just to get ingredients? What ingredients were they getting? Are you serious? What are you going to do? Nothing much. I'm just going to get a few kilograms of fire water bamboo shoots, hurricane crabs, fire sea abalones, Yu Dongtian said casually. In addition to the things that Wu Yuding had asked for, he added a few more on his own. He counted and found that the specialties of the 12 warlocks of the Umno Alliance were all there. After hearing this, the king of Zhuolu's head swelled by at least 3 times. No, I can't do this. I knew a coward like you wouldn't dare to go. Forget it, I'll go myself. I'll get some tonics for your junior brother and junior sister, and I'll flatter them. Haha, or I won't take any disciples in my life. What's the point of having a disciple? I've raised him since he was young, taught him everything and helped him reach the peak. I've spent so much effort, but in the end, he's unfilial and unfilial. Yu Dongtian sneered, "You don't even give him some food. Don't expect him to go through fire and water, and expect him to be filial. Ha. You should just sit on the heavenly king of the left seat that Uncle Zhuo arranged for you, and sleep with the wife that Aunt Zhuo found for you. I'm going." The heavenly king of the left was infuriated. "Fine, I'll go. If you dare to go, why wouldn't I dare to go?" On the other side, Yu Dongtian was very straightforward. "Then it's settled. See you at the sun's moon pass in a day." Then, without saying another word, he hung up the phone. It was said that the heavenly king of the left held his phone to his ear and was stunned for a long time. Fuck. I've been tricked again. He slapped his own mouth in frustration. He knew that Yu Dongtian was a talkative person, but he provoked him again. "Wife, answer Yu Dongtian's calls next time." Haha. You said that thousands of years ago. I haven't answered any of his calls. I wasn't paying attention. Who would have thought that he would trick me again? You're talking as if he didn't trick you before. With your IQ, I feel wronged watching you suffer every day. Why did I find someone like you who looks smart but is actually brainless? Haha. It's fine as long as you have brains. Ha ha. If I had brains, why would I find you? The next day, the king of Zhuelu and his wife arrived with 8 messengers. Yudongtian's 5 venerables, heaven, earth, sun, moon, and star, were all in position. The 16 divine transcendents didn't say a word after they met, but only one word was used: reckless. With such a powerful force, what was there to be afraid of? Yudongtian waved his hand in high spirits. We're invincible. Let's go. Whoosh. Together, they rushed into the alliance. The first thing you need to do is to deal with the water flame bamboo shoots. So, you went to look for Great Flood Shaman to talk about the Starlight Mountain Range's spatial ruins and stall for time. Your wife went to look for Great Fire Shaman to talk about it and stall for time. As for your wife, she's a woman. She went to the Great Fire Shaman because of his status. He naturally wouldn't meet her alone. Just give me 1 minute. I'll steal. No. I'll collect the water flame bamboo shoots. Heaven, earth, sun, moon, and star will go to the Sea of Fire and look for the Sea of Fire abalones. This is the first part of the plan. The second part of the plan is for the 8 messengers to go and find Dan Kong, who's not far away. 2 of them will go and deliver a message to Dan Kong. Tell him what we're going to do. The other 6 will go and collect the space lotuses. 1 for each person. Yudongtian obviously had a mature plan in mind. Don't worry. Now is the time when the 3 continents are working together to explore the ruins. They won't fight. As long as we succeed, we'll retreat immediately. There won't be any future troubles. The king of Zhuelu's face was gloomy as he muttered to himself. Damn it, you mustered so many people to get me here. But it turns out that you're going to be a thief. How did Yudongtian offend my master? This is simply a matter of life and death. And, are you sure there won't be a fight? You're going to steal someone else's precious thing. But now that things had come to this, how could he shrink back? Especially under Yudongtian's disdainful gaze, the king of Zhuelu couldn't afford to lose face. Who am I afraid of? Let's go then. After the plan was set, they set off immediately. It had to be said that Yudongtian's luck was really good. He didn't know if this was the end of his misfortune. The space ruins were about to open, and the Flood Witch said that she would come personally. But the backlash in his body hadn't been completely eliminated, and he would feel weak from time to time. That in view of this, the Flood Witch obviously went into seclusion to eliminate this hidden danger before the ruins opened. And this hidden change also caused these people to come to the alliance without encountering the Flood Witch. After learning this good news, Yudongtian became bolder and didn't have any scruples at all. Without the flood, who am I afraid of? So he used his cultivation to control the clouds, and there was a spiritual energy storm for 3 days. Then, like a bandit, he rushed in and picked at least 3 caddies of water fire bamboo shoots. He didn't let go of any bamboo shoots that stuck out. When he came out, he happened to meet the 5 venerables who were being chased by the Fire Witch couple. The king of Zhuelu's wife was trying her best to resist. Yudongtian went directly to steal the time and caught the Fire Witch couple off guard. Then he took people and ran without stopping. On the way, he met up with Zhuelu and rushed to Dan Kong's side. He saved 2 messengers who were almost beaten to death and met up with the 6 who picked the space lotus. The Fire Witch Dan Kong roared all the way. Flustered and exasperated, he directly mobilized all the troops to encircle and annihilate. The left and right heavenly kings led their subordinates and rushed into the territory of the Great Ice Nether which, following behind them, the 2 heavenly kings led their men to fight against several great witches. Zhuelu's wife personally took action. She didn't just pick a few Ice Soul Lotus, she directly pulled out 2 Ice Soul Lotuses. The Ice Hell Witch went crazy on the spot. I had 4 in total and half of them were gone. You and I can't live under the same sky. The Fire Witch couple, Dan Kong and Bing Ming, the 4 great witches joined hands and fought until their eyes turned red. But at this time Yudongtian shouted, "Brother, hold on." Then he ran away in a flash, not stopping for even a moment. The Fire Witch, who was so angry that he was about to vomit blood, couldn't help but want to laugh. Yudongtian actually left his brother and ran away at this moment of life and death. I can laugh at this joke for 3 years. Soon Yudongtian rushed back with all his might. Go. So everyone tried their best to break out of the encirclement. Behind Yudongtian was the crazy Wind Emperor. The Wind Emperor was so angry that his mouth was leaking air. You Dongtan. Put down my crabs. Son of a bitch. The Wind Emperor, who had always been gentle and elegant, kept swearing. His eyes were blue. This son of a bitch. He actually took away 10 hurricane crabs from the Wind Lake. What a bastard. Then they fought and walked at the same time. They passed by the territories of several great witches one after another. They successfully turned into a superstorm in the whole Umno alliance. Hundreds of millions of people chased after them. The left and right heavenly kings broke out of the encirclement. The Umno alliance's army was behind them. Except for the Flood Witch, there were 8 great witches chasing after them and participating in the battle. After this battle, the king of Zwolu suffered internal injuries. He covered his chest and was speechless. There were so many great witches surrounding us, and so many Umno alliance's experts. How could we be their opponents with so few people? No wonder you Dongtian didn't dare to come alone. This was simply courting death. Didn't you fucking swear that there wouldn't be a fight? You wouldn't fight? I almost lost my life there. Finally, Yu Dongtian rushed out with great efforts. Looking at the few senior magi, who were still chasing closely behind him, Yu Dongtian stood still in the air, cupped his hands and tried to persuade them. Everyone. Yu Dongtian. Everyone. Peace is precious. Precious my ass. The few senior magi cursed out loud and launched a series of fierce attacks against Yu Dongtian. Yu Dongtian knew how powerful they were. So he ran away immediately. When they finally came back, the left and right heavenly kings and the other 16 super experts had almost broken their legs from running. The Umno alliance's army behind them was like a tsunami. It was like a swarm of insects in a desert, constantly rolling and surging, increasing in number until it covered the sky and covered the sun. The thousands of miles of defense line at the Sun-Moon Pass couldn't see the sun in an instant. This situation scared General Dongfang. Is this a fucking final battle? It's not that bad, right? Why is there no sign at all? I didn't even see the aura, and it's already here. Fuck. Did they dig up the Umno Alliance's ancestral grave? The great heavenly fate array at the Sun-Moon Pass was activated immediately, and the heavenly Tao was activated. The starry sky was inverted, and the awe-inspiring star array appeared. The situation was so urgent that General Dongfang's phone was about to explode from calling for help. Someone come quickly, this is bad. Even the star-plucking emperor's clone rushed over. How did things suddenly change like this? Fortunately, the battle didn't start. However, the 9 great witches felt like their livers were swollen from anger, and their lungs were about to explode. It was the first time they had seen such a shameless thing in so many years. The 9 great witches stood in the air and cursed for 3 whole days. Their curses were endless, and the mountains were rumbling. The pine trees were rustling. The echoes were rumbling. It was earth-shattering. It was deafening. Today is Alliance Master Little Chen's birthday. Well, you may not know Little Chen, but I'm the one you're talking about. It's my birthday. I wish Little Chen a happy birthday. Chapter 649. The generals and warriors on the human side were all confused by this scene. It looked like they were really angry. What's wrong? On the other side, the 9 great shamans were all flustered and exasperated. On the other side, Yu Dongtian was graceful and magnanimous. He reprimanded them righteously, saying that the great shamans were making a mountain out of a molehill. The heavenly king of the right expressed that he would not lower himself to their level. He had already agreed with the Flood Witch that we were going to do something big together. Yet, the 9 of you were cursing and swearing here. You're really ungentlemanly and tarnishing the status of great shamans. If you insist on starting a war, we're not afraid. However, you should go back and discuss with the Flood Witch before coming back. However, I guarantee that the Flood Witch will beat you up. You don't care about the big picture. You're worse than a 3-year-old child. The 9 great shamans were so angry that their livers were about to explode. Yu Dongtian was the heavenly king of the right after all. Can't you be more shameless? Just you wait. The 9 great shamans really did not dare to start a war right now. They were not lucky enough. If they started a war now, both sides would definitely suffer great losses. The only result of this would be that the Tao League would benefit. After both sides suffered great losses, the Tao League would be able to conquer the 3 continents without any effort. How could the people of the Umno Alliance be willing to accept such an outcome? The The three sides were in a delicate balance of power now. The Tao League and the Astral Souls were working together to fight against the Umno Alliance. No one dared to break this balance. Although the three sides were in a balance of power now, the Umno Alliance was the most powerful one. This was an undeniable fact. It was also because of this that the Tao League and the natives of the Astral Souls were working together to fight against the Umno Alliance. It was also common knowledge that according to the ancient history books, the first continent to return was the Tao Alliance continent. When the Tao Alliance continent had just returned, it had engaged in a fierce battle with the Star Soul continent. The battle had been extremely tragic since the beginning, and this tragic battle had lasted for several years. The Tao League might want to exterminate the Astral Souls and dominate this land. However, just as the Astral Souls were about to lose their ability to resist, the Umno Alliance returned from space. The auras of the 12 warlocks were earth-shattering. Their overall power and actual combat power were far above that of the Tao League. Back then, the strength of the Umno Alliance was like the Tao League to the natives of the Astral Souls continent. They dominated the world and fought head-on from the start. Moreover, the first target was the Tao League. In the eyes of the Umno Alliance, the Astral Souls were not even worth mentioning and could be exterminated with a flip of the hand. There was nothing to pay attention to. It wasn't that the Umno Alliance was too arrogant. It was the truth. The great Magus of the Flood Alliance used his twin warhammers to beat the Tao Alliance's experts so badly that they were forced to flee. His aura skyrocketed as he lifted his warhammers and smashed them straight into the divine mountain of the Tao Alliance, smashing straight into the Three Purities Palace. That battle had truly caused the heavens and earth to collapse and the sun and moon to dim. The three Pure One's 7 swords were chased out by the Flood Witch with her hammers. She then smashed the sacred mountain, turning the entire Three Pure One's palace into ruins and smashing the entire sacred mountain into pieces. She stood on the peak of the highest peak of the Tao League with her hammers and shouted to the world, "I'm the world's #1. Who doesn't agree with me?" That day, when the Thousand Souls Nightmare Hammer appeared for the first time, it shocked the 3 continents. It was also the first time the title of the world's #1 expert appeared. In the truest sense, she was invincible. However, the arrogant Umno Alliance at that time did not know that it was the Flood Witch's earth-shattering battle that not only did she not subdue the 2 continents, but she also saved the Astral Souls continent, which was on the verge of total defeat, from the brink of destruction. How could the Tao League care about exterminating the Astral Souls continent when faced with such a powerful and cruel enemy? The Tao League made an emergency ceasefire and negotiated peace with the Astral Souls continent. They turned their attention to preparing for the Umno Alliance. At that time, the Wizard Alliance had just returned and were bursting with confidence. Each and every one of them had an inflated mentality that was about to explode. The 3 Pure Ones and 7 Swords joined forces with all the remaining experts of the Star Spirit continent to attack the Wizard Alliance. A total of 3,000 top-notch fighters from both sides fought the Flood Witch to the death. On the other side, the 2 sides also joined forces to urgently repair the Sun-Moon Pass. The top-notch fighters met the Flood Witch at the Sorcerer God Mountain. Both sides agreed that if they could fight to a draw, they would establish an alliance. The higher-ups of the 3 continents would not participate in the battle unless it was a decisive battle. They swore in the name of the Tao Ancestor and the Sorcerer Ancestor. At that time, the Flood Witch was at the peak of her power. She was so arrogant that she felt like she could swallow the entire continent with just one mouth. "That's it. I'm invincible. Why should I be afraid of this?" After being provoked, she simply said, "All of you can come at me together." It was also because of this sentence that caused endless trouble in the future. In that battle, there were 3,000 experts from the 2 continents. Among them, 730 of them formed the double 365, Heavenly Cycle Star Formation. Just as the battle started, the moment the formation was laid down, they all gathered together and self-destructed. The power of 700 top-notch fighters self-destructing at the same time caused this battle to be filled with sorrow from the very beginning. In the battle at the Sorcerer God Mountain, almost all of the Umno Alliance's fighters below the senior sorcerer level were killed. The 12 senior sorcerers were all severely injured. The Flood Witch held her twin hammers and howled sorrowfully towards the sky. She shouted 3 times, "Despicable! Shameless! Good man!" She just stood on the peak of the mountain and watched the remaining experts from both continents leave the Sorcerer God Mountain. She had the power to kill everyone. But the overall battle was forced to a draw by the two continents. It was already a draw. The oath was established. Since ancient times, the most important thing that the Umno Alliance kept in the depths of their souls was the oath. The flood which could not destroy the pride of the Wu people. Therefore, she was bound by the oath and could not attack the remaining enemies. As for the Tao League and the Astral Souls, 3,000 of them went. When they came back, only 93 people were left. But these 93 people were all severely injured. Among them, 17 of them died a few years after their return due to chronic illnesses and old injuries that were difficult to recover from. They passed away one after another. However, it was precisely because of this battle that they successfully established the alliance of the three alliances. During the construction of the Sun Moon Pass, the 28 experts who did not go to the Umno Alliance, 14 people from the Astral Souls, and 14 people from the Tao League took up 28 positions in the north, south, east, and west. It was the 28 constellations defense formation. Each of them brought 7 of their brothers to the 4 directions of the east, south, west, and north. They formed the 4 spirits formation. With the 4 spirits formation as the foundation, they built the 28 constellations defense formation. On top of this, they each took their own positions and triggered the response of the constellations, borrowing power from the heavens. The 28 experts and the 7 brothers who were determined to contribute their strength made up a total of 224 top-notch humans. On the same day, they all passed away in their respective positions. They turned their complete bodies, lives, and souls into the power of the 4 spirits. With the combination of human strength and the power of the stars, they turned into the 28 constellations, guarding the border forever. At the right time, everyone used their immortal will and flesh to communicate with the heavens. They used their souls to trigger the power of the 4 spirits. The power of the 28 constellations fell from the heavens and stabilized the defense line in all directions. They became one with the heavens and earth, sharing the breath of the sun and the moon. Unless the heavens and earth were overturned and the sun and moon were destroyed, it could not be destroyed. Until then, the defense line was finally formed. From then on, no matter how the mountains and earth shook, no matter how the world changed, the defense line of the 28 constellations defense formation stood firm and could not be destroyed. As long as it was within its range, even if it was just a rock, it could not be destroyed. They could only fight, attack, and defend. If they wanted to use their power to shake the mountains and pass, it was already impossible. From then on, the Sun-Moon Pass became the true Great Wall of flesh and blood. From that moment onwards, the Tao Alliance and the Star Soul continent finally had a chance to catch their breaths. The great sacrifice made the future generations blurry and emotional every time they talked about it. From then on, due to the restrictions of the Alliance, the upper echelons of both sides rarely participated in the battle. The restrictions of the Umno Alliance's Grand Magi were especially severe. They could not mobilize more than 3 Grand Magi in a single battle. Once violated, the absolute upper echelons of the Tao League and the Astral Souls would join forces to counterattack. Once a battle of this level started, the souls of the stars and the 28 constellations defense formation would be awakened. They would communicate with the power of the heavens and counterattack. When that time came, due to the restrictions of the oath and the fact that the Umno Alliance was the first to break the oath, the Umno Alliance's heavenly Tao could not produce providence to counterattack. The situation would take a turn for the worse, and the impact would be too great. It was also from then on that the upper echelons of the Umno Alliance realized that the Tao League and the Astral Souls' previous actions were simply a ploy. It was even a cover-up. They used huge sacrifices and contributions as a medium to turn the battle of survival into a battle of providence. The difference between a battle of survival and a battle of providence was too huge. They were two completely different concepts. However, even if they knew that they had fallen into a trap, what was done could not be undone. What could the Umno Alliance do? Therefore, after so many years, the 3 sides were entangled with each other and fought until today. From this, it could be seen that although the Umno Alliance's combat power was high, when it came to intelligence, it was very weak. Then why were 99% of the combat power of the Sun-Moon Pass from the Astral Souls? The reason was actually very simple. It was because before the final battle between the Astral Souls and the Tao League, the Astral Souls was weak and almost on the decline. The so-called alliance was in an absolute disadvantage, and there was no room for negotiation. Therefore, there was another agreement between the Tao League and the Astral Souls, which was the border of the battle with the Umno Alliance. Before the Astral Souls was destroyed, the humans in the Astral Souls had to be at the front line. The Tao League was at the second line. Although this was an extremely unfair agreement, the Astral Souls could not resist at all. They did not even have the right to object. They could only accept it. After that, the Astral Souls experienced a long period of darkness. Later on, in the next few decades, more than 10 young geniuses appeared out of nowhere, and all of them spared no expense in increasing their combat power to the point where they could hold their own. In the end, the Sky Surveyor throne and the Emperor Zhaixing stood out, and the two of them rose to power miraculously, like the sun and moon hanging in the sky. As soon as their wings were fully developed, they rushed to the Tao League's 3 Pristine's palace and changed the agreement. If you don't change it, then we'll go our separate ways. You play your game and we play ours. We'll all die together. After that, the Sky Inspecting Throne challenged the Flood Great Shaman by himself. For that battle, the Sky Surveyor Throne specially forged a Sky Surveyor sword to counter the Flood Witch's 1,000 Souls Nightmare Hammer. That battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Although the Sky Surveyor Throne lost in the end, the Flood Witch did not have it easy either. She was the strongest opponent he had ever met in his life. The Sky Surveyor Throne's shocking battle established his immortal reputation. At the same time, the Emperor Zhaixing challenged the Tao League's Thunder Taoist, and it was said that the two of them fought to a draw. Since then, the era of the Minister and the Emperor began. The two great experts shook the world and intimidated the Shaman and Tao Leagues. With their absolute strength, they raised the status of the humans in the Astral Souls continent. That was how the situation was turned around. Well, actually, it was just that they were strong and their words had more weight. The strong were respected, and the bigger the fist, the bigger the argument. That was why everyone lived in peace for so many years. It was like a silent agreement. If you don't send the flood, we won't touch the Minister and the Emperor, and the Tao League won't send the Thunder Taoist. For many years, this kind of battle between absolute upper echelons was extremely rare. Even if it happened once in a while, it was only limited to the friction between 1 or 2 people, and it was harmless. However, about 20 years ago, the demon star suddenly moved, and the weather changed drastically. On that day, the sky darkened and there was a torrential rain. And the torrential rain was a rain of blood. A rain that was like blood. Within the range of the 3 continents, it rained blood for a day and a night. After the rain of blood, the image of the heavenly court appeared in the sky. It was like a mirage, but it was so clear that it was almost within reach. Since then, the corpses of the ancient demon clan that had been sleeping underground suddenly erupted with demonic energy. And it was only then that Demon Emperor-level demonic beasts appeared on the continents. Before that, the highest level among the star beasts was Demon King level. The 3 continents combined all the signs and quickly came to a conclusion. The Demon Alliance continent was about to return. Faced with this conclusion, the 3 continents were on guard against a great enemy, because everyone knew that the Demon Alliance was the ruler of the entire world. The warning of the rain of blood meant only one thing. The current strength of the 3 continents was obviously not enough to fight against the Demon Alliance. Faced with this situation, not only were the Astral Souls continent and the Tao League continent anxious, but the Umno Alliance was also on guard against a great enemy. Because the Umno Alliance and the Demon Alliance had always been polar opposites and could not coexist. That was why the Flood Witch was seeking a breakthrough by transforming into the mortal dust. On the other hand, the Astral Souls continent had to worry about the threat of the Demon Alliance. On the other hand, they were worried that the Flood Witch's strength would surpass others after her breakthrough, which would cause the current situation to be unbalanced again. If the Flood Witch really broke through this time and reached the level of Zhu Wu, then the so-called oath would be useless in front of such a legendary expert. It might even evolve to directly swallow 2 continents and completely integrate the 3 continents to fight against the Demon Alliance. And the Flood Witch would have this strength as long as she broke through. By then, the Astral Souls continent and the Tao League would still be unable to avoid the fate of becoming slaves. Therefore, the Sky Patrol Minister who could restrain the Flood Witch immediately set off to transform into the mortal dust. Moreover, he had to use the body of a mortal to search for the legendary phoenix cry in Qi Mountain. In the end, it was just one sentence. It had been a long time since so many great wizards went out to battle at the same time. Now it was picked out by Udongtian, the heavenly king of the right. Almost all the higher-ups of the 3 continents were shocked. What the fuck is Udongtian looking for death? Begging for votes. I wanted to write up to 12,000, but I really can't write it. This chapter can be considered as filling up the hole in the previous chapter. It really burned my brain. Fortunately, I plagiarized part of the setting of the Romance of the 3 Kingdoms. Otherwise, this would really be a pot of porridge. Hey. Chapter 650. There was a confrontation here. On the other side, the Tao League's 3 Pure Ones and 7 Swords rushed over as if their butts were on fire. They had no choice but to do so. When were you going to fight? Was this a joke? But when they arrived, they found that the Umno Alliance's great shamans had already retreated. It was said that the Flood Witch found out about this when she was in seclusion and ordered them to return. At the Flood Witch said very clearly, Udongtian wanted these things, but we didn't give them to him. That proved that he wanted them and he would steal them if he wanted them. Who could you blame for not taking care of them? The great shamans felt wronged. They were confident in guarding against thieves. But who could guard against the heavenly king of the right? They could only go back. They would settle this score later. Thus, the 3 Pure Ones and 7 Swords missed. But since they were already here, they had to sit down and teach Udongtian a lesson. Tell him what he could say and what he couldn't say. What he could do and what he couldn't do. How can you stand it if you're always so flustered every day? But after they met, the 3 Pure Ones and 7 Swords reprimanded Udongtian for a while, and the heavenly king of the right, who was originally honest, expressed his sincerity. I accept all the criticisms and I accept all the accusations. I was too impulsive. I admit my mistake. However, is it possible for the Tao Alliance to provide me with some assistance? Otherwise, I'll have to go to the Tao League. It's really troublesome. The 3 Pure Ones and 7 Swords were so angry that they leaned back. Not only did you rob the Umno Alliance, but you also want to rob the Tao League in your plan. What do you want? Taoist Thunder was so angry that his beard was trembling. But what could he do in the face of such a troublemaker? I just want some cosmetics. Udongtian rubbed his hands and said, That's not a big deal, right? Taoist Thunder asked angrily, Cosmetics? What cosmetics? 3 heavenly beauty flowers, 3 jade bone grass, 3 heavenly ice lotuses, and 3 snow jade lotus roots. Udongtian said, Just these, Boss Thunder, you won't refuse, right? Whoosh! Taoist Thunder drew his sword. I'll give you this. Udongtian shouted, I'm telling you, this is what Antswa wants. What's the use of these things? Your Antswa wants it? Really? Taoist Thunder frowned. Udongtian said, These things aren't worth flaunting, right? You can just call and ask. Don't tell me you don't have a way to contact me. Taoist Lei frowned for a while and said, Forget about the phone. Since your Antswa wants it. He tilted his head and looked at Taoist Yun. Give it to him. Taoist Yun's face twisted. Give? Give it to me. Sigh. Taoist Thunder felt that he must have been retarded to make this trip. Udongtian got what he wanted. He got everything in his hands. He was so happy that he could not stop thanking him. Taoist Lei frowned and was extremely unhappy. He asked in an unpleasant tone, What does your Antswa want these for? Are you really going to use it for beauty? Udongtian coughed. Of course, he did not dare to say that this was the punishment for using Antswa's son as bait and causing her son to go missing. Besides, the matter of Uncle Zwa and Antswa giving birth to pearls was top secret information. That is fine as long as I know. If I tell you, it won't be as simple as just looking for ingredients. He could only laugh dryly. What does she want these for? How would I know? I don't dare to ask. If it were you, would you dare to ask? Look at how your minister has spoiled his wife. She only knows how to beautify herself. Taoist Lei complained indignantly and waved his hand. Let's go. The higher-ups of the Tao League left in the blink of an eye. On the way, the 3 Pure Ones and 7 Swords felt as if they had swallowed a big fly. What did they come here for? Boss, are we here to deliver cosmetics? Taoist Yun was unhappy and asked with a twisted face. Taoist Lei snorted. The last time you went to his house for dinner, I advised you not to go. You said you had a good relationship with him. In the end, you still owe me a path understanding fruit. Taoist Yun's face turned red and he was embarrassed. He said angrily, how many years has it been? Your path understanding fruit is gone. Taoist Hua, who was wearing an apricot yellow Taoist robe, was also furious. Let's not talk about the past. I cannot talk about it, but you have to pay the debt. You said it's gone, but it doesn't count. That's that. Taoist Lei said angrily. Their faces darkened and they did not say a word for a long time. There is only one path understanding fruit in the world. Where are we going to find it for you? Forget it. I'll just let you talk to me a little. Sigh. I can't afford to offend you here and there. I've had enough of this life. The battle of the Heavenly King of the Right shocked the world. The whole continent was in a mess. There were only 12 Grand Wizards in the Umno Alliance. This time 9 of them wanted to kill him. The Flood Witch was still in seclusion. If she came out, there would be 10 of them. Yu Dongtian sounded tough on the surface, but his heart was beating like a drum. This time, he really made a big mess. Even the highest level of the Dao Alliance was alerted. He even caused the King of Zhuolu to suffer from internal injuries. He would not be able to fight at full strength for a while. What the fuck? Sigh. Yu Dongtian then looked at the 5 venerables who were badly injured. Yu Dongtian put on a happy expression and said, let's go. Let's go back to heal and drink. This time we've won a big victory. Everyone rolled their eyes. This time we've won a big victory. Don't you feel guilty when you say that? You should say that the big thieves are all disabled, okay? To think that we're your trusted subordinates. Before we went, we didn't even know that you were going to steal so many things. How could you be so careless? When Yu Dongtian was looking for the King of Zhuolu, he realized that the couple had disappeared without a trace with the 8 messengers. There was only a voice message on the phone. Yu Dongtian, don't look for me if you need anything in the future. Don't look for me even if you don't need anything. From now on, I don't recognize you. Fuck. Yu Dongtian cursed. You're actually being arrogant. Then he took out his phone and called the King of Zhuolu. There was only a busy tone. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Fuck, he was blacklisted. Yu Dongtian held the phone and muttered to himself. Is there a need to blacklist such a small thing? Is there a need to blacklist me? Let's go and drink by ourselves. Why do you have so many problems? Yu Dongtian cursed and left with his men. Behind him, Commander Dongfang was covered in cold sweat. It was cold now. Commander Dongfang even felt that his sweat had turned into ice. Fuck, I was scared to death. A world war almost broke out here. But what can I do with this little army of mine? Yu Dongtian, you son of a bitch. Even though his rank was not high enough and Commander Dongfang did not dare to scold him, he had already cursed the Heavenly King of the Right in his heart. Can you make it any scarier than that? 9 great wizards arrived at the Sun Moon Pass. Fuck you Dongtian, you're really a talent. No, you're a genius. Dongfang, do you want to drink? Yu Dongtian's voice came from afar. No. Commander Dongfang gritted his teeth and walked to the door. Heavenly King of the Right is so considerate. If you have something to do next time, go to the south or the north. I'll be very grateful. He shut his mouth before he finished speaking, because Yu Dongtian was long gone. With a bang, Marshal Dongfang kicked the chair over. Fuck. Go fucking dog. You're thousands of miles away, and you're still asking me if I want to drink. You're nowhere to be seen. Even if I want to go, where can I find you? Can't you show some sincerity? Yu Dongtian, who had walked far away, was pulled into a group chat. In this group, the 12 great wizards, the 7 swords of the Tao League, and the Heavenly King of the Left were all there. However, there was another person that Yu Dongtian had not seen in a long time. Father, why are you here too? I can roam the east. I heard that you were very impressive today, so I came to see how impressive you are. Dizzy Balls Crazy. Ahem. Why are you still using this name? It's better to change your name. I can roam the east. He felt that it was a bit embarrassing for his father, the Emperor Zhaixing, to use this name in a group chat. Then the Emperor Zhaixing, who used the pseudonym Dizzy Balls Crazy, no longer had a chance to speak. The entire group chat was flooded with comments. The voices and words of the 12 great wizards scolding the East flooded the group chat like an avalanche. In just a few seconds, the entire group chat was flooded. The number of voices and words of scolding the East reached more than 700 within a dozen seconds. It was obvious how furious the 12 great wizards were at this moment. Among them were a few laughing and punching the ground, emojis from the king of Zwalu. Similar messages like, "You Dongtian, are you still human? You Dongtian, you're not human. You despicable, shameless man. Fuck you Dongtan. Fuck you. Your 5 elements are deficient. And your life is wicked. Fuck you." These words were simply repeated over and over again, repeating over and over again. There was still more to it, and each wave was higher than the last. Yu Dongtian calmly turned off his phone, put it into his pocket, and continued on his way. The Heavenly Venerable was curious. "Heavenly King, you're also in this group chat? So lively. What group is this? They're so active in sending messages." What did they see? They only saw the messages pouring in like a waterfall. They were very curious. Yu Dongtian said calmly, "This group, you can say it's my fan group. I just went in to take a look and everyone is so passionate. What do you think I should do? I should leave as soon as possible." The venerable ones immediately understood. "So that's how it is. I understand. Fanatical fans are all like this. But the Heavenly King actually flooded his fan group. I'm really impressed. He's so approachable and friendly." Yu Dongtian smiled demurely. "Keep a low profile, keep a low profile." After a full half an hour, Yu Dongtian took out his phone again and entered the group chat. There were already more than 7,000 messages in the group chat. Now, all of them were scolding weakly. "Can we still discuss serious matters? You can't scold him to death. Scolding him is just useless anger. What's the use?" Dizzy Balls Crazy asked. No one said anything for a long time. "Who scolded him just now?" Dizzy Balls Crazy asked. Chapter 651. My son provoked you, but I didn't. Dizzy Ball was crazy. Fuck your whole family. Dizzy Ball was crazy. You dare to call me a dog? Give me an explanation. It's not a big deal, but it's not right to scold old you. You people like to scold people and bring their parents into it. That's not good. Those who scold should leave the group first. Flood Monstrous immediately made a decision. Do you think I don't know what you two are thinking? It's fine that your son came to steal a wave, but now you actually came out to criticize him, and you still want some compensation? Why don't you die? Then, Wind Emperor Great Witch left the group chat. Great Witch Dan Kong left the group chat. Great Witch Ice left the group chat. Great Witch Fire left the group chat. Flood Monstrous was speechless. In the blink of an eye, 11 of the 12 Great Witches left the group. The Flood Witch was instantly depressed, extremely depressed. It's fine if a few of them left the group symbolically, but why did all of them leave? The other Great Witches expressed that they didn't want to stay in the same group as Yu Dongtian. Especially when his father was still here. We were pulled down by him for no reason. We were not happy. The Flood Witch rubbed her forehead with a headache. Damn it. What a headache. Let's discuss things, I'll tell them after we're done. Flood Monstrous. Okay, let's start, haha. It was so fierce just now, now it's finally stopped, so peaceful. East Sky let me swim. Fuck your father. You little dog. Flood Monstrous. Dad, he scolded me. East Sky let me swim. He scolded you, I really can't. Dizzy Ball was crazy. Ha 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 ha. Laughing emoji, I'm on the left side. He scolded too lightly. Sanqinglei said. If others saw the chat in this group, they would definitely be scared to death. Or it would be a big surprise and they wouldn't dare to believe it. Among this group of people, especially among each other, which one of them didn't have a blood feud? No matter who they met, they would kill them as soon as possible. When they met on the battlefield, no one would show mercy. When they could kill, they would cut faster than anything else. When there was a chance to kill, they would definitely not let it go. But now the chat was particularly harmonious. Some people would definitely not understand. Are you guys playing around with the other people from the 3 continents? However, judging from the long years that these people had lived, they were actually the loneliest group of people in the world. They didn't have many people to chat with. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that if one of them killed the other, the killer would be depressed for a long time. Because in this world, there was one less person who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him and talk to him as an equal. He felt even more lonely. In other words, the one who was killed was freed. It was this kind of contradiction, this kind of incomprehensible relationship. It was just that everyone had reached the point where they cherished their enemies very much. Actually, their current chatting wasn't their limit. Over the years, the Sky Patrolling Throne and the Great Flood Shaman had fought many times. Later on, the things that the two of them did were even more shocking. During the day, they fought with their lives on the line, fighting for an entire day. Drinking and chatting merrily at night, they drank the whole night. During the day, they fought to the death, and at night, they talked about everything. When they were drunk, they would lie down and snore in front of the other party. The other person would silently guard. Wake up and fight again. Fight to the death. That this was a very special group. After the scolding, they quickly decided on the matter of the spatial ruin. From the Wizard Alliance, the Great Wizard of the Flood, the Great Wizard of the Raging Fire, the Great Wizard of the Dankong, the Great Wizard of the Ice Underworld, and the Great Wizard of the Wind Emperor had arrived. Tao League 7 swords all came. Astral Souls, Heavenly Kings left and right, Emperor Zhai Xing, the 3 great commanders, the Minister of Finance, and the 3 inspectors of the cabinet came together. The above people were the leaders. A month later, they would bring their own people and gather at the Starlight Mountains. About a minute after the discussion, the Flood Witch proposed that Golden-Scaled Witch, Boundless Witch, Burning Candle Witch, and Non-Poisonous Witch also wanted to come. Tao League and Astral Souls said at the same time, "It's not a problem for all 11 witches to come, but Non-Poisonous Witch can't come." Non-Poisonous Witch applied to join the group. After he was approved, he complained in the group chat. Why was everyone else allowed to go but he couldn't? He said that he wanted an explanation and promised that he wouldn't attack. "I'm just going to drink and play around, okay?" Non-Poisonous Witch asked angrily. 7 swords and Heavenly Kings left and right chuckled. "No, others can but you can't. If you insist on coming, we'll kill you together." The non-poisonous shaman continued to rage in the group. Her mouth was full of filth, and the 18 generations of female ancestors who heard of her were all implicated. After a round of scolding, they left the group in a daze. 3 pure ones and 7 swords left the group. Heavenly Kings left and right left the group. There were only 2 people left in the group. The Flood Witch and Non-Poisonous Witch. Non-Poisonous Witch. Crying emoji, crying emoji, crying emoji. He hoped that he could get the Flood Witch's sympathy and take him out to play. The next moment, Flood left the group. The group is disbanded. In a faraway place in the Umno Alliance, a sorrowful and angry roar resounded through the sky. "Why? Why can you all go out to play but I can't? Why? Why did you treat me like this?" That voice, that tone, it was simply sad to see and tearing up. It was too miserable. Play. It had always been what Non-Poisonous Witch yearned for the most, but in his life, not many people dared to play with him. On the other hand, play. In fact, this was the biggest purpose of this Starlight Mountain Range gathering. In other words, these leaders were actually taking this opportunity to come out to play, chat, and drink. The ones who were really working were definitely not them. In other words, they came this time to use their official position for personal gain. These people's behavior was outrageous. But everyone in the 3 continents said, "How interesting." But absolutely no one said, "Not doing proper work." Just as the higher-ups of the 3 sides were having a secret meeting and deciding on the leader of the exploration team in the Starlight Mountain Range, Qin Fangyang had already rushed to Shangjing through the night. His first stop was to call Zhuo Xiaonian. He didn't get through on the first call, so he first went to Yunduan High School and found teacher Cui Shangyan. During the Starlight Mountain Range hunt, teacher Cui Shangyan had expressed his support for Zhuo Xiaoduo, and specially opened an account to threaten Hades' palace. However, when he received the 3,000 kilograms of king beast meat that Zhuo Xiaoduo asked Qin Fangyang to send, teacher Cui Shangyan fell into a state of shock on the spot. He never thought that Zhuo Xiaoduo would actually have such a generous reward. "Thank you, teacher, for supporting Xiaoduo when he was at the end of his rope. My heart is very warm. I haven't seen you for a long time, but I still miss you. Thank you, teacher. It's just a small token of my appreciation." I hope that teacher won't refuse. Zhuoxiaoduo's letter was very short, but Cui Shangyan's eyes were red. This was just a small token of his appreciation. Cui Shangyan felt that if he refused this small token of his appreciation, he was afraid that the principal would come over to chat with him on the spot. It was not impossible for him to leave the north and south to fight things. Thank you. Cui Shangyan shook Qin Fangyang's hand excitedly. Thank you, students Wuxiaoduo. Yunduan High School will always be grateful. On the other side, the principal of Yunduan High School had already lost his cool and came out. The principal, who was patrolling the campus with his telepathic thoughts, did not expect a windfall from the sky. While Cui Shangyan was excited, the principal almost could not help but rush out and give him a kick. What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and accept it. Don't put on a pretentious act of declining. What if he takes it seriously? Why are you so hesitant? Are you out of your mind? Now that he had accepted it, of course the principal had to say a few words on behalf of Yunduan High School. What if Cui Shangyan took the meat away himself and only gave it to his own students? He had to keep it. Keep it all. The principal expressed his heartfelt welcome and gratitude to Qin Fangyang. He especially appreciated Wuxiaoduo and regretted not being able to come to Yunduan High School for further studies. He said a lot of good things and pulled Qin Fangyang's hand, not letting him go. He had to show his hospitality as a host. Qin Fangyang spent a lot of effort to get away. He was even forced to leave his contact information and confirm the time of their meeting before he was let go. As soon as he got away, he heard the principal and teacher Cui Shangyan arguing in a low voice. Our class must take more. These are all mine. You are abusing your power for personal gain. You are unscrupulous. Nonsense. These are all the schools. It was Xiaoduo who thanked me. It was Xiaoduo who gave it to Yunduan High School. Didn't I allow you to post? Don't you know that water has roots and trees have roots? You still want to be a teacher? Where are your morals? Qin Fangyang didn't care who won or lost. He took a big detour and found Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu. The two were so excited and surprised that they couldn't believe it. He gave them 200 pounds of meat and watched them eat their first bite. After the two finished digesting, Qin Fangyang didn't stay and directly asked to leave. The two reluctantly sent Qin Fangyang out. Wan Lixiu pulled Qin Fangyang's sleeve with her little finger and didn't let go. She lowered her head and didn't say a word. She didn't want to let go. She was like a little girl who couldn't bear to part with her father. Qin Fangyang comforted her in every way possible before he was able to get away. However, after walking a few feet, he heard Wan Lixiu crying behind him. She cried so heartbroken that it moved his heart and soul. Qin Fangyang hardened his heart and left. Long Yuxing only comforted Wan Lixiu. It took him an entire afternoon. The little girl cried until her eyes were like two peaches. Then Qin Fangyang went to Ancestral Dragon High School to find Ding Xiulan. Teacher Ding Xiulan and teacher Cui Shangyan had the same reaction. Moreover, Ding Xiulan was more emotional. She was so emotional that her tears flowed out. Good child. I knew that Xiaoduo is a good child. Nothing will happen to him. I'm really ashamed to accept it. But this gift is sent to my heart. For the sake of the student's future, I can't not accept it. I'll be thick-skinned and accept it. I thank you so much. Ding Xiulan pulled Qin Fangyang and insisted on going to the principal's office. Qin Fangyang was so scared that he left. He had been flattered too many times. He didn't want to experience it again. I really have something to do. I'll take my leave now. Qin Fangyang really didn't want to experience what happened at Yunduan High School again. Just as Qin Fangyang left, the principal of Ancestral Dragon High School had already rushed out of the office building. If he was a second or half a second late, he might not be able to leave. Wuxiaoduo, you're really not bad. You're really a good child who values relationships and righteousness. Ding Xiulan had been repeating this sentence for a few years. Every time she thought about it, her heart would feel warm. Teacher owes you a favor. It wasn't until the sun was about to set that Zhuoxiaoyan's call finally got through. When she heard that Qin Fangyang was coming over to deliver something for Wuxiaoduo, Zhuoxiaoyan almost couldn't maintain her ice-cold image. She immediately flew out of the Nine Heavens Pavilion and rushed over in a hurry. Zhou Xiaonian's plan to invite Qin Fengyang to dinner fell through. Qin Fengyang didn't want to delay and was leaving tonight. He took the king beast meat and a bowl-sized centipede pearl back to his room and closed the door. Zhou Xiaonian's smile was like a blooming flower. Hee. Doggy, to think that you still want to give me a gift. Hee. Doggy. Zhou Xiaonian's beautiful big eyes turned into crescents. At this moment, her image was poles apart from the image of the spiritual goddess and the ice goddess. It was as if she was a completely different person. She foolishly rolled around on the bed and smiled like a blooming flower. Doggy, you naughty little fool. You're so obedient and good-looking. You're my good doll. Wah! Zhou Xiaonian suddenly felt an itch in her hands. It had been a long time since she pinched Zhou Xiaoduo's ears. Her hands were itching. She rubbed her hands. Roar. Go back and pinch. If I eat this meat, you won't be able to catch up with me. Roar. Zhou Xiaonian buried her head in the blanket and laughed. Her two long legs kicked happily outside the blanket. Her heart was filled with happiness and satisfaction. Under the blanket, a bowl-sized centipede pearl was sparkling and translucent. It was dreamy and illusory. In the light, Zhou Xiaonian's smiling face was a little red. She was like a budding flower that was about to bloom, revealing two petals that were the most beautiful in the world. Something came up. 2 updates. Chapter 652. Wherever Qin Fengyang went, the students greeted him as if he was a living bodhisattva. Everyone was filled with emotions. Who would have thought that the good karma I did casually and even with a bit of utilitarian heart would be repaid like this? Zhou Xiaoduo is indeed worthy of the title of a genius. Knowing how to repay kindness, kind and righteous, chivalrous and gentle, brave and courageous. He is indeed a hero of the generation. Not bad. Not bad at all. Qin Fengyang only realized it when he arrived at Shui City No. 1 Middle School. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. He seemed to have made a mistake, and it was a big mistake. Shui City No. 1 Middle School was the same as No. 2 Middle School in Phoenix City. They were both elementary martial arts schools. That was to say, the students here couldn't bear the energy of the Beast King's meat. Even the slightest bit of energy could be fatal. Qin Fengyang and Zhou Xiaoduo had completely ignored this point when they were discussing it. Of course, the main reason was that Gu Qianfan's fame was too great. The master and disciple had completely ignored the elementary martial arts school. What should I do? Qin Fengyang sat in the reception room of Shui City No. 1 Middle School, worried. Gu Qianfan was already here. He would be here soon. As for himself, while he was thinking, the door opened. Gu Qianfan, who only had one arm and one leg, walked in. One arm was made of iron, and the other was made of meat. One arm was made of iron, and the other was made of meat. Apart from other things, his footsteps were sonorous and powerful. The former No. 1 general of the Southern Army still maintained his military mannerisms. Even though he was handicapped, he still walked with his back straight. The aura he exuded when he walked in was still that invincible general who was able to maneuver his way through. Qin Fengyang straightened up subconsciously and saluted instinctively. Hello, General Gu. Gu Qianfan was startled by his action. He saluted back instinctively and smiled. Mr. Qin, we are no longer in the army. You don't have to salute me. Come sit. Qin Fengyang smiled and sat down. I don't want to be so polite. The problem is that you look like you just came back from the battlefield. I can't help myself. Teacher Qin, you've come a long way. Sorry for not going out to meet you. Gu Qianfan's attitude was very polite. Qin Fengyang's heart was filled with embarrassment. He had made such a big blunder. He said embarrassedly, coming here this time was really a little presumptuous. It was clearly a good thing, but I messed it up. Did something good go wrong? Gu Qianfan was puzzled. How did a good thing go wrong? It's like this. Old Principal Gu has spread the word that he's standing up for his disciple, Xiaoduo. The child is finally out of danger. And by chance he managed to obtain some Beast King meat. I'm grateful for old Principal Gu's protection. Qin Fengyang smiled bitterly. They asked me to bring King Beast spirit meat for old Principal Gu. It's more than 3,000 pounds. This gift is not limited to Shui City No. 1 Middle School. Many high martial arts schools also have a share. However, we neglected the fact that Shishui City No. 1 Middle School is a primary martial arts school. The students of No. 1 Middle School may not be able to withstand the spirit meat and spirit energy. This matter is really. I don't understand. Old Principal Gu was originally tall and straight like a sword. His face was kind, and he even had the demeanor of a refined elder. However, after hearing Qin Fengyang's intentions, Old Principal Gu's entire person and aura changed. He became a completely different person. From a refined principal, he became a super bandit. How can you say that something good went wrong? This is obviously a great thing. Gu Qianfan slapped his thigh and laughed. I told you that Zhou Xiaoduo is a good kid. I didn't misjudge him. I'm extremely gratified that he has such thoughts. What about the meat? Where is it? The old principal looked very eager. He wasn't reserved at all. As soon as Qin Fengyang took it out, the old principal snatched it away. He sniffed it, and his eyes lit up like a light bulb. Not bad, not bad. Mid-level king-class Snake King spirit meat. Not bad, not bad, this is really good. It's just right to use. Qin Fengyang was stunned. Old Master Gu, this spirit meat is for you. No one can take it away, but you must use it wisely. The spiritual power contained in this thing is not something a beginner martial arts student can bear. Gu Qianfan snorted and glared. Students can't bear it because their luck is shallow. But can graduates not bear it? Any child who graduated from Water City First High School is still my student even if they graduated 100 or 1,000 years later. They are still my child. Gu Qianfan weighed it in his hand and suddenly said, That's not right, Teacher Qin. How is this 2,500 kilograms? It's only 1,500 kilograms, right? Did you embezzle 2,000 kilograms for me? Qin Fengyang was caught off guard by this, and his eyes instantly widened. That's 3,000 caddies we agreed on earlier. When did I say 2,500 kilograms? Old Principal Gu, you must be joking. Gu Qianfan blew his beard and glared. Who has time to joke with you? You clearly said 2,500 kilograms just now. Where's the remaining 2,000 kilograms? You dare to take a commission in my place? You've really got guts, you brat. Qin Fengyang was almost angered by Gu Qianfan's actions. He had long heard that this old principal was unreasonable. He was full of soldiers and acted like a ruffian. As early as when he was a general in the Southern Army, he was used to eating more for his subordinates. He could be shameless. However, he had never thought that he would be blackmailed today. I'm here to give you resources. You're blackmailing me like this. Don't you feel embarrassed? Gu Qianfan glared and stretched out his hand, his face unforgiving. He made up his mind. Qin Fengyang must have more meat in his pocket. If there was, leave it all for me. Who said my students don't need it? Even if you give me another 100,000 kilograms, it won't be enough. Qin Fengyang was extremely helpless. He couldn't beat him. He didn't dare to scold him. There was no market for reasoning. Qin Fengyang felt helpless in the face of such an unscrupulous troublemaker. But in reality, you have 3,000 kilograms here. I still have some in my ring, but that's someone else's share. How can I give it away? Isn't this harming others to benefit oneself and fearing despotic power? Finally, Gu Qianfan forced Qin Fengyang to give him 100 kilograms of the 200 kilograms of meat under his name. This was given to me by Zhou Xiaoduo. I haven't had time to eat it yet. Qin Fengyang retreated in order to advance. I also plan to use this to increase my strength. If you have the nerve, take this 100 kilograms too. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely be embarrassed. They had traveled thousands of miles to send you such high-quality resources. How could you have the nerve to rely on someone else's 100 kilograms of spiritual meat? But Gu Qianfan snatched it away without blinking his eyes. Forget it, forget it. That's all. I'll let you go. Qin Fengyang panted in anger. This is a veteran at the peak of perfection. I'm conceited as a person in the military. But if I ask myself, my skin is really not that thick to this extent. Forget it, forget it. I'll never deal with you, Gu Qianfan, in the future. I'm so angry. My 100 kilograms of spiritual meat is fed to a dog. Gu Qianfan, however, had no psychological burden. Qin Fengyang, you are Zhuoxiaoduo's teacher. How can this spiritual meat be missing from you? If I rob you today, he will give you back in the next moment double the amount. But if I don't rob you today, there will be no more. Can't I tell the difference in this section? If I can't tell, wouldn't I have lived for a long time like a dog? Teacher Qin, please be sure to stay for a meal. Gu Qianfan's face changed in the blink of an eye. He was full of enthusiasm. My jar of iron blood wine that I've treasured for 1,000 years still owes an iron blood man a toast. This old man was willing to sacrifice so much. Naturally, he had other plans. He planned to call a few more people, and then use his identity and position, as well as the superior-subordinate relationship in the military, to press Qin Fengyang down, get him drunk, and then extort a wave of money if he was drunk and couldn't keep his words as long as his mouth leaked. This kid must have some more on him. Gu Qianfan's little abacus rang loudly. But how would Qin Fengyang dare to stay for a meal here? If he stayed, he was afraid that Gu Qianfan would knock him out and rob him of his ring. This veteran was definitely capable of doing such a thing. Sweating profusely, he repeatedly bid farewell. Ignoring Gu Qianfan's repeated urging to stay, he tore off a piece of his sleeve and fled in panic. My mission this time, where wouldn't I be appreciated and respected? As a result, when I arrived at Shui City No. 1 Middle School, I was almost stripped naked. Qin Fengyang left Shui City No. 1 Middle School and fled the boundary of Shui City 5 minutes later. Smoke and dust billowed along the way, and he left at a speed that evaded the battlefield's pursuers. After Qin Fengyang left, Gu Qianfan immediately ordered the teachers of the school to hold a meeting. The first order was to call back 500 graduates. Let the children eat all of them raw. Everyone who eats the king beast meat. Don't forget that you owe Zhuoxiaoduo a big favor. In the future, if Zhuoxiaoduo has any problems, as long as it's not treason, the students of Shui City know. One middle school must unconditionally help. Otherwise, I won't let you off easily. Qin Fengyang traveled thousands of miles to send them off. This is also a favor. Don't let the little brats forget. Gu Qianfan's domineering style was evident. Qin Fengyang wiped away his cold sweat and sped all the way. Soon he arrived at Phoenix City. Revisiting the old Phoenix City, there were many people he needed to visit, and there were many trivial matters. At No. 2 Middle School, Principal Li and his wife asked him to stay. Hu Ruoyan forced him to tell the story of Zhuoxiaoduo. The more detailed, the better. Tell her as much as you know. Then are you done? Are you done? Say it again. Qin Fengyang almost broke down when he heard this request. He introduced the king beast meat, threw it down and ran away. Women are so scary. Then he went to find Sun Fengho, Zhang Zhangbin and the others. He also visited the families of the martial artists who had sacrificed themselves in the Battle of the Phoenix Soul. He distributed their belongings. He also watched the cultivators who had suitable king beast meat at home eat it and helped them digest it. Then, he left quietly after reminding them. Finally, he came to He Yuanyue's tomb and found Sister Lan, who was living there. Chapter 653. Qin Fengyang stayed in front of He Yuanyue's tomb for a day and a night before embarking on his journey again. He went to Kunlun Taoist sect to find Mu Yinyan, and then to Zizai Taoist sect to find Qiu Yunshang. The two of them were extremely grateful for Zhuoxiaoduo's kind intentions and were deeply moved. They never thought that Zhuoxiaoduo would repay them like this. Mu Yinyan was filled with emotions. Thanks to Xiaoduo, Kunlun Taoist sect has recruited many talented disciples. Everyone is practicing the Dragon Gate kick with all their might. Forget it, I can't be bothered to be angry with him. Mu Yinyan sighed. Yes, the Dragon Gate kick of Kunlun Taoist sect had become famous overnight. Its name shook astral souls. Even the entire Jianghu had changed the name of the Dragon Gate kick of Kunlun Taoist sect. Dragon Gate kick. No descendants move. It was really famous in Jianghu. Then what made Mu Yinyan and the others speechless was that the elders of Kunlun Taoist sect had dissected the Dragon Gate kick and studied it carefully. Finally, they came to a conclusion. That was, the Dragon Gate kick was indeed more powerful in attacking the lower part of the body, and it was easier to use. Especially the various changes in the moves, it was simply specially created to kick the crotch. This conclusion made Mu Yanyan feel ashamed. Could it be that the ancestors' original intention to create this leg technique was to kick the crotch? What the hell was this? Qin Fangyang then went all the way south. He traveled tens of thousands of miles without stopping and went to Sun Moon Pass. The purpose of his trip was to give a portion to General Sun Bai, who was also the one who helped him in the Battle of the Phoenix Soul. General Sun Bai was conflicted. I appreciate your kindness, but I've already eaten a lot of this stuff. It's a waste to eat more. No matter in the Southern Army of the East, those who haven't eaten king beast meat were rare. This result made Qin Fangyang disappointed, because he still had more than 500 kilograms of king beast meat left. He didn't expect that he couldn't give it to the battlefield where he needed to increase his strength the most. Qin Fangyang had to bring it back. He stayed at Sun Moon Pass for 2 days. He wanted to find white-haired deity Shan Xiaoru and invincible saber general Tai Mingru, but the difference in level was too big. Qin Fangyang didn't dare to ask for a snub. Instead, he found a few old fellows who were familiar with him and liked to gossip. In the end, the 2 old veterans blew it up. That touching love story was told vividly and vividly. It moved the heavens and the earth, causing the seas to dry up and the rocks to crumble, the mountains to crumble, and the earth to collapse. Even what was said in the bridal chamber and what was the process, the 2 veterans even filled in the blanks with their imaginations. It was as if they were there and were eavesdropping. Halfway through, the white-haired deity Shan Xiaoru descended from the sky and beat the 2 veterans half to death. Even Qin Fangyang was given a good beating. In the end, they even captured Qin Fangyang and interrogated him. What are you trying to do by asking about us? If not for Qin Fangyang's reputation in the Eastern Army as one of the top 10 fugitives in the infant transformation realm, the white-haired celestial immortal Shan Xiaoru would have killed him. With her status, it would be useless to kill him. Who asked him to have a foul mouth and violated the taboo? It's like this. Facing the person involved in the past, Qin Fangyang's face was full of pain as he recounted his experience. The white-haired celestial immortal, Shan Xiaoru, listened with tears in her eyes. She was full of sympathy and explained the whole story to Qin Fangyang. The invincible saber general Tai Mingru was indeed the reincarnation of the thousand-edged sword Qi Changsheng. There was no doubt about this. However, there was one point. After Tai Mingru stepped into the martial arts path and practiced, she reached the embryonic breathing realm and began to practice her god spirit. Then she began to slowly recover her memory. As her cultivation deepened and her mind became stronger, the spiritual imprint of her previous life became clearer. Qin Fangyang pondered for a while and finally expressed his understanding. In the end, Qin Fangyang was kicked out of the army camp by the white-haired celestial immortal, Shan Xiaoru, and flew 1,300 meters. Qin Fangyang was on the ground and almost fell to his death. He didn't understand how he had offended her. He still remembered his last question. May I ask General Shan, how did you confirm it? Because if someone specially collected information about you and sent a spy to impersonate you, it's not impossible. After all, it's extremely rare for a dead person to come back to life. There was nothing wrong with what he said. He was also looking forward to the return of his sweetheart. However, he had to be wary of people with ulterior motives. Wasn't it reasonable to ask about some details? However, after Shan Xiaoru heard this, her face turned red instantly. She kicked Qin Fangyang 1,300 meters away. Get lost. Shan Xiaoru's face was still red all the way back to her own camp. How did I recognize it? Humph, how did I recognize it? Of course I have my ways. I have a red mole on my chest and a birthmark on my thigh. Moreover, I call out when I'm in love. These are things that no one else knows. Only Qi Changsheng knows. Since Tai Mingru knows these things and is so familiar with all the actions and procedures, even the process is the same, how can I recognize it wrongly? However, can I tell you Qin Fangyang about this? Qin Fangyang, you have taught for decades and are a role model. How dare you ask such a shameful question? Where is your role model? Humph! You're asking for a beating. For example, outsiders might not be able to tell the difference between twins, but their wives would be able to recognize them with just one look. When it comes to women's sensitivity, many times, It can't be guessed using common sense. After thinking for a while, Qin Fangyang went back to Water City No. 1 High School and gave the remaining 1,300 kilograms of meat to Gu Qianfan. In terms of combat power, Gu Qianfan's no-return sword was very useful on the battlefield. It was better to send it here so that it could unleash its power better. However, after Qin Fangyang went there, he was furious. Gu Qianfan blew his beard and glared at him. You can't give it to anyone else. You only gave it to me when no one wants it. I can't stand this grievance. Unless you round up the meat to 3,000 kilograms. Qin Fangyang's expression changed as he argued. Gu Qianfan relented and said that he also wanted 2,000 kilograms. Qin Fangyang grabbed the meat and left. Gu Qianfan pounced and almost pulled out his no-return sword to snatch the meat back. Old man. The respect he had for the No. 1 general of the Southern Army had completely disappeared after these 2 trips. He even scolded him, this kind of veteran principal of Water City No. 1 High School who thought of all ways to monopolize more, not hesitating to extort, blackmail, set traps, and other methods. To think that I used to admire him so much. That night, Gu Qianfan caught Qin Fangyang and didn't let him leave. He drank for the whole night. He didn't say any words of thanks. The whole time they called each other brothers. The next morning he personally sent Qin Fangyang off. Come when you're free. There's wine here. I'm here too. Gu Qianfan waved his hand and smiled brightly. He shouted at the top of his voice, remember not to come empty-handed next time. Qin Fangyang left without looking back. Fuck you. You're here? I won't come even if you beat me to death. Qin Fangyang plunged into the boundless wasteland. He wanted to use the battles with the star beasts here to hone his martial arts skills. Then, he would compress his vital essence again and again. After a few times of compression, he would break through to the mystical realm. When he broke through to the cloud realm, he accidentally broke through because of the healing medicine while he was unconscious. It could be said that Qin Fangyang's greatest regret in his life, once he broke through without compressing his vital essence. If he wanted to compress it further in the future, he would have to put in 100 times more effort and pain. But back then, because Yuanyue's lifespan was about to end, he was determined to die. Naturally, he didn't care about his own cultivation state. But now the situation had changed. There was hope for Yuanyue's return. Qin Fangyang naturally hoped that he could go further on the path of cultivation and walk more steadily. In order to achieve this goal, for a better future, Qin Fangyang was prepared to make up for his shortcomings here. Qin Fangyang went out to train. And Zhuoxiao's life in the Hidden Dragon High School was back to normal. And the most noteworthy thing was Zhuoxiao's breakthrough. Origin Core Realm. When he broke through, Zhuoxiao was overwhelmed with emotions. When I was in Phoenix City, Nian Mao was already at the Origin Core Realm before I started cultivating. Now I'm also at the Origin Core Realm. Nian Mao, you've maintained the leading position for more than 10 years. I've already caught up to you. You took more than 10 years to reach the Origin Core Realm. And now, I only took a year to reach the Origin Core Realm. Who's more talented? Is there a need to ask? One day I will. I will. In the end, he didn't achieve his dream of 50 times of suppression. Even though he used up all his energy and luck points, he only managed to break through after 42 times of suppression. This result made Zhuoxiao furious. Very angry. He had to vent his anger. And so, Zhuoxiao beat up Li Chenglong, who had already reached the middle stage of the Origin Core Realm, 17 to 18 times. Li Chenglong felt so wrong that he wanted to die. The sadness in his heart was indescribable. You're just like Mr. Qin in Second High. When he's happy, he'll beat you up. When he's unhappy, he'll beat you up. When he's calm, he'll beat you up. When he's not eating, he'll beat you up. When he's drinking, he'll beat you up. When he's thinking of the past, he'll beat you up. Li Chenglong felt that he couldn't live anymore. Now you're using this on me. But I'm not you. I'm not as tough as you. Zhuoxiao felt that he had to beat him up. He wouldn't beat him up just because he couldn't take a beating. Being able to take a beating was something that could be trained. Have you forgotten how you hit me when I'm down that day? Besides, I've been beaten up as much as you during this period of time. Who's more wrong than you? Zhuoxiao beat him up confidently and became more energetic. Li Chenglong shouted, "You're the only one who's been beaten up? Didn't I get beaten up as well? Did Mr. Wen let me off? Every day, I'll beat you up 50 to 40. He felt really wronged. After Qin Fongyang left that day, Yi Chongqing used a piece of top-grade Astral Soul's jade as the price to suppress his injuries. Then he used all his strength to beat up Wen Xingtian. Wen Xingtian, who was beaten up, had nowhere to vent his anger. So, he thought of Qin Fongyang's teaching method. There's only one word to teach Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong. Beat them up. Chapter 654. With this knowledge, Wen Xingtian felt even less burdened. Hence, Wen Xingtian began to beat up Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong. And he didn't need to find excuses. Every day he would say, "Why is the progress of your cultivation so slow? Come out." Hence there would be a pause. Even if Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong advanced by a level every day, Wen Xingtian would still say that they were slow and start beating them up. As a result, the two of them were in the same boat. In a day, as long as they weren't sweating profusely in the gravity room, they would be beaten up all the time. They were under heavy pressure and under torture every day. The harder Wen Xingtian beat them up, the more Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong racked their brains to think about whether they could withstand it next time. The harder they cultivated, the easier it would be for them to feel less pain when they were beaten up. The harder they trained, the faster they improved, and the harder Wen Xingtian beat them up. Through this cycle, his strength grew at an extremely fast speed. This was a joyous result, and it gave Wen Xingtian even more reason to beat him up. These two guys, the harder they were beaten up, the faster they improved. What Qin Fongyang said was true. These two guys were really afraid of being beaten up. From then on, they didn't need to be impulsive and vent their anger anymore. They beat them up confidently and happily. "See, ever since I beat them up with all my strength, they've improved much faster than before." Sure enough, there's always someone to learn from. Teacher Qin's teaching method is really good. I'm sincerely convinced. I'll believe it as if it's true, and I won't go against it. Although that was what he said, his actions were the same. The beating became more intense and powerful. Moreover, it was from a point to a whole. Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were just a point. A starting point. All the students in Class 1 were beaten up. If Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong can use this method, the others can definitely do it too. Including the girls, Wen Xingtian did not care about beating them up, and did not give them any preferential treatment. The principle of equality between men and women was carried out in daily life. Right now, the students of Class 1 were either being beaten or walking on the road to being beaten. They were like ducks being chased, running faster and faster, and being beaten more and more ruthlessly. And so, cough cough cough, it was a virtuous cycle. The students of Class 1 complained incessantly. What attribute did Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong activate? We were just implicated by those two. Since ancient times, I've never heard of anyone needing to be beaten 8 times a day to attend a high martial arts school. However, there was no doubt that after being beaten up, the students of Class 1 also grew rapidly. Originally, the progress of Class 1 was already higher than the other classes. Now the gap was widening with each passing day. The other teachers were all feeling depressed and curious. Hence they went to ask. Hence that under the lead of Wen Xingtian, the other teachers gradually discovered the benefits of this trick. So that was the case. This bunch of people were asking for a beating. Understood. Teacher Qin was really talented. Look at Wen Xingtian, who discovered it early. Look at how fast his students improved when he trained them. Look at you guys. You guys are the worst batch I've ever taught. Since you guys are the worst batch, what should I do? Beat them up. As a result, the entire Hidden Dragon High School suddenly became a place where ghosts were weeping and gods were howling. The sounds of people being beaten came from all directions in an endless stream, rising and falling one after another. Pa 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 pa. Pa 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 pa. Pa 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 pa. Pa pa pa. The Hidden Dragon High School's hellish teaching mode was grandly inaugurated this year. From then on, the name of Hidden Dragon High School's hellish teaching mode was born. Zhuo Xiaoduo had already handed in the school's mission. Hence, he received a lot of credits as a reward, as well as resources that were equivalent to the mission. Yi Chongqing did not deliberately deduct Zhuo Xiaoduo's credits because of Qin Fengyang's words. He felt that this matter had to be fair. Since Zhuo Xiaoduo had completed the mission, the credits that should be given should be sufficient. As for worrying about Zhuo Xiaoduo slacking off and so on, now Yi Chongqing came up with a solution. If the student slacked off, he would go and beat up Wen Xingtian. Principal Yi was also very good at holding grudges. Zhuo Xiaoduo received a lot of rewards. He used a huge amount of credits to exchange for countless items that could restore one's soul, cultivation, injuries, etc. In short, all the items that could restore one's state were of the highest quality. He exchanged for a huge amount of resources and put them into the space ring. These were all for preparing to get injured and run away at any time. Actually, it was to recover at any time to kill the enemy. Yes, it was like that. Among them, Vice Principal Lu's mission for revenge included a purified jade lotus. It was placed in an ice jade box. Although it had been plucked for a long time, the whole lotus was still like a piece of white jade, sparkling and translucent. A faint and elegant fragrance condensed and didn't disperse. Although it wasn't refreshing, it lingered for a long time. The lotus flower placed in the box looked like it had been carved out by the best craftsman in the world. Purified jade lotus is suitable for unmarried women. After taking it, it will cleanse the internal organs, crystal clear meridians, ice skin and jade bones. It will not be stained by the mortal world, and there will be no smell in the body for the rest of its life. It will be clean and elegant for the rest of its life, and its heart will be exquisite. All the astral souls will be ice and fire, and it will be a perfect universe. Zhuo Xiaoduo stared at these words and seriously tried to understand them. In the end, his understanding was, after taking it, there would only be a fragrant beauty, and it probably wouldn't even stink when taking a dump. Good stuff. Therefore, Zhuo Xiaoduo carefully put it away. He was going to let Zhuo Xiaonian take it the moment he saw her. The other prize was also a priceless treasure. It was said to be a godly sharp sword passed down from ancient times. It could cut gold and break jade, and its sharpness was unparalleled. It was called the sealed dragon sword. Zhuo Xiaoduo took it and waved it twice in his hand. He compared it with his spirit cat sword and felt that it wasn't as beautiful as his spirit cat sword. It wasn't convenient to use. He called Li Chenglong in. At this time school was over, and the two of them had finished eating. They were lying in the villa. What do you think of this sword? Good sword. Isn't it awesome? Awesome. Do you want it? Yes. If you want it, then write an IOU. How much? 100 million. So little? I'll write you an IOU of 10 billion. Li Chenglong finished writing the IOU and took the sword away. It was as if he had received a treasure, and he couldn't put it down. Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at the IOU in his hand. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Although the value of this sealed dragon sword was definitely more than 100 million, and even if it was worth 10 billion, there was no place to exchange it. However, looking at the swollen man who wrote the IOU without any hesitation, it was still most probably, the so-called debt collection was no longer painful or itchy. He didn't feel anything at all. This wouldn't do. It was even more not a good sign. I have to establish the feeling of being in debt is shameful, and I can't sit still or stand still. Li Chenglong has already gotten used to it. How am I supposed to deal with him? Zhuo Xiaoduo frowned and pondered. He was reflecting, what did he do wrong? He originally only wanted an IOU of 100 million, but now he received an IOU of 10 billion. And the person who wrote the IOU was so happy. This was a little boring. Li Chenglong, think about it. What else have you not done? Zhuo Xiaoduo asked. When they started to discuss business, Li Chenglong also became serious. He counted with his fingers and said, just a few days ago, there was news from Shangjing City. The cabinet ordered to wipe out the 4 great clans, including the Wu clan, the Gao clan, the Wei clan, and the Lu clan. A few days ago, among the 4 great clans, all those who had participated in the conspiracy, no matter men or women, a total of 1,753 people were all beheaded. Among them were the clan leaders of the 4 great clans. None of them were left alive. Swollen praised, this time Chief Nan's butcher's knife fell ruthlessly. It is said that even those who were only involved in it were not spared. As for those who came out to carry out the mission, They were all killed, and their entire clan was exterminated. Now, the 4 great clans are only left with some children of the direct bloodline, who are not more than 15 years old. Then there are the women who are confirmed to have no connection with them. These few clans might not be able to recover from this setback, but they will at least be dormant for a few hundred years. Also, more than 30 strongholds of the UMNO alliance were found all over the country, and they were all destroyed. All related personnel must be killed, including those who were captured alive after interrogation. They were all beheaded in public. Also, the Chiu clan of Bailiang City, the maternal family of the princess of the Central Plains, was directly uprooted, and the whole family suffered. The princess of the Central Plains was implicated, and she hanged herself in the prince's mansion that night. All the dowry and all the confidants were tied up by the prince of the Central Plains and handed over. After interrogation and verification, they were all executed the day before yesterday as well. There were also many gangs that were purged this time. They were directly wiped out. Yes, after this big operation it was as if there was a big purge all over the country. More than 20,000 people were caught, and many of them were directly executed in the local area. Because of this, there is no way to calculate the exact number of deaths for the time being. In short, it is not a small number. For now, no matter what the crime is, the sentencing is based on the principle of severity and severity. Basically, the punishment is 3 grades. Ruthless. Very determined. Li Chenglong was full of praise. I believe that after this, the whole continent will be peaceful for a while. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded quietly and said, "What about those related to the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts?" He really did not care about other things. Those related to the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts. Li Chenglong began to calculate all the information that Zhou Xiaoduo told him a few days ago, as well as all the information that Yi Chongqing had asked him to sort out over the past few days. After thinking for a while, he said, "Starting from the headmaster, the 4 murderers who attacked Headmaster Yi back then have been arrested and brought to justice. For the time being, they are in secret custody. But behind them, there are too many people involved, so it is not appropriate for us to make a sudden move. We still need some time." Zhou Xiaoduo nodded slowly. He had thought of this when he first learned about it. It was definitely not easy to move against a force like the Prince of the Central Plains. Not to mention the Prince of the Central Plains cutting off his own wrist and directly sending his father-in-law's family to take the thunder. It could be said that he had completely cast himself away. If he did not grab his wrist in front of him, he really could not make a move. Chapter 655. Then there's Vice Principal Xiang. 2 of the people who fought with him that year have been caught during the interrogation. They confessed that it was the Liu family who did it, and the Liu family also confessed to it. These 2 people have already been executed. The other person who cooperated with them is the UMNO Alliance's Fenghai stronghold. Although this stronghold has been uprooted, the person who was responsible for giving out the water of the River of Forgetfulness is no longer here. We still have to wait until we capture this UMNO Alliance expert to be completely settled. But this matter, in my opinion, is already over. Then there's Vice Principal Liu. The people who participated in the attack on Vice Principal Liu were from the Gao family and the Wu family. They have already been captured and executed. In addition, Vice Principal Liu has recovered. His relevant part has also ended. As for Vice Principal Cheng, his situation is similar to Vice Principal Ye's. They are involved in the same trouble. So, he has been shelved on the surface and is working hard in secret. But now that we have a clue, we won't be blinded anymore. The matters related to the 2 of them have been combined into one. Now we just need a chance to settle the score. But Vice Principal sure was framed, and it wasn't done by any of these families. That is to say, there's still one murderer who hasn't been found and is still hiding. The others have either been executed or have already found a target. Only this is still full of mystery. Li Chenglong frowned and said, "So this matter is really strange. Personally, I feel that this isn't a power struggle. It's a move against Vice Principal Sure alone. It's to ruin his reputation and put him to death." This method is more like a personal grudge that is absolutely irreconcilable. Li Chenglong frowned and said, and Vice Principal Yi and the others are skeptical of my guess. Zhou Xiaoduo also frowned. Was there something else fishy about this matter? But no matter what, Hidden Dragon High School is clean now. There aren't so many crooked things anymore. Li Chenglong said now whenever Principal Yi and the others mention this matter, they are all relaxed and full of smiles. It's very different from when we first came to school. Principal Yi can even go and beat Teacher Wen up to vent his anger when he has nothing to do. Before this, I heard that Principal Yi wasn't so interested. Even if Teacher Wen wanted Principal Yi to have some fun with her, he wouldn't have the energy to do so. Li Chenglong's words were full of schadenfreude. Ayaya, the form teacher who used to beat me up every day is getting beaten up every day. Just thinking about it made him feel good, very good, very good. Oh, that's right. Feng Hai's Li clan seems to have participated in your pursuit this time. However, they ultimately did not truly make a move. Hence, they only suppressed you slightly and gave you a warning. As for Feng Hai's Gao family, Gao Changxiang, Gao Chao and the others were unusually concerned about you. After you returned, the Gao family's descendants did their best to get close to us without hiding anything. The most important thing is that every one of them is very sincere in their relationship with us. Li Chenglong glanced at Zhou Xiaoduo. I think the root cause of this situation should be that the Gao family helped you during the pursuit, right? Yes. Not only did the Gao family help me, but they also lost a few people in order to help me. In terms of strength, they should be one of the few experts in the Gao family. Zhou Xiaoduo frowned. What's more, they broke off their relationship with the Gao family in Shangjing at that time. Li Chenglong frowned. After a moment he asked, could it be that the Gao family has transferred over? Zhou Xiaoduo recalled Lord Ri's words and asked tentatively, swollen, what if the Gao family really transferred over? Li Chenglong did not speak for a long time. After a long silence he said, if the Gao family transfers over, we can try to accept them. However, we can't completely trust them. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded slowly. On the other hand, the Wu family, Wu Yunhai, Wu Qing, Wu Yi, and the others were originally on good terms with us. They were still very warm when we met. However, in the past few days when they saw us they were a little embarrassed. Although they still talked and laughed freely on the surface. That feeling is not right. Li Chenglong frowned and said, especially when compared to the Gao family, the Wu family's attitude seems even more strange. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded slowly and said, regarding this I also feel the same. After the incident, the consequences of the choice of the Wu and Gao families' higher-ups had gradually revealed themselves. Just as Gao Chao said, when you wanted us to be on good terms with them we were unwilling, but we could only go up to them. They could feel it. Because they were all teenagers, they could not be as calm and collected as the old fox, hiding a knife behind a smile. Even if the change in their hearts was hidden, it would still affect the way they did things. If our family still wanted to kill him, then the relationship that we had built with great difficulty would completely collapse because of this. It was also a psychological change, a natural rejection of the aura. No matter if it was guilt, shame, or a guilty conscience, there would be a corresponding reaction in the aura. Zhou Xiaoduo usually looked like he did not care about anything, but Zhou Xiaoduo's senses were still extremely sensitive. Moreover, he had the ability to read people's faces. Who was disloyal, who was dishonest? There was no way to hide it. Zhou Xiaoduo's number one assistant, Li Chenglong, was also an expert in this aspect. Even if he could not feel it, Li Chenglong could still analyze the situation based on what he saw, and quickly find out what was wrong. Just as Gao Chao said, these two fellows were peerless geniuses, not heroes of the world. It was impossible to deceive them as they were of the same age. The slightest change in their emotions could expose everything. Only with sincerity would there be meaning and results. And now the Gao and Wu family disciples were behaving very differently, making both sides unable to hide from Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong. Li Chenglong slowly analyzed, the Gao and Wu families have the same relationship with us. And Gao Chao is an extremely intelligent woman. She used the maximum amount of contact to make our relationship closer. This was her previous efforts. And this time, in the matter of you being hunted down in the Starlight Mountain Range, The Gao and Wu families clearly made different choices. That's why the students of the two families have different attitudes towards you. Since they made different choices, if the Gao family helped you before, then even if the Wu family did not kill you or target you, at least they would not help you. And in that kind of atmosphere of life and death, if they did not help you, it would be no different from targeting you. Li Chenglong said, therefore Wu Qing, Wu Yi, and Wu Yunhai are feeling guilty, because their families want to deal with you. Therefore, when they face us, especially when you escaped unscathed from the Starlight Mountain Range, they will feel even more embarrassed, guilty, and ashamed. And after they enjoyed the meat of the Beast King you brought back, their feelings will only be magnified and they will not be able to hide it. Li Chenglong said in a low voice, therefore, we can conclude that the Gao family is moving closer to us. And the Wu family is not only our enemy, but the chances of them becoming friends are very slim. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded. He thought so too. However, Li Chenglong's analysis of each and every one of them was much more concrete. In this world, Li Chenglong did not finish. Then he saw Zhou Xiaoduo raise his head and look outside. Then he felt it too. A car was driving straight toward the villa. A few minutes later, the car arrived at the entrance of the villa. A man and a woman got out of the car. The woman was tall and slender. The woman was beautiful and had a graceful figure. They were Gao Changxiang and Gao Qiao. What a coincidence! Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong both exclaimed in their minds. 20 days had passed since the Starlight Mountain Range incident. During these 20 days, the Gao family did not take any initiative to show their goodwill. They let Zhou Xiaoduo digest the results of the Starlight Mountain Range incident. Until today, Zhou Xiaoduo had probably finished digesting the results and stabilized his cultivation. That was why they came to find him. Before this, Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were busy consolidating their current cultivation and dealing with the fruits of their labor. They were truly extremely busy, and they really didn't have the time to sit down and discuss other matters. But now, the two of them had reached the inner core realm and were in a stable state. They had spent several days consolidating their cultivation and could talk about other things. And Gao Qiao had come to find them at this time. Li Chenglong's eyes flashed as he watched Gao Qiao and Gao Changxiang slowly walk toward the door. He transmitted his voice to Zhou Xiaoduo. This Gao Qiao. She's meticulous and meticulous. She does things flawlessly. She knows when to advance and when to retreat. She knows when to stop and when to stop. This woman is definitely a talent. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded. In fact, he had the same thought in his mind. He turned to Li Chenglong and asked, so what do you mean? Li Chenglong winked and transmitted his voice. Why don't you accept her? Zhou Xiaoduo's face changed abruptly. He looked around vigilantly. Then he felt a chill in his crotch. His back was cold like a knife. His ears began to turn red and hot. It seemed that Nian Cat had pinched them again. A familiar pain seemed to be rising. He could not help but shiver. His lips turned green and his face turned white. You can't say that. You'll die. Li Chenglong was immediately filled with doubts and bewilderment. What was wrong with that? Why did Zhou react so strangely when he mentioned finding a wife? Ding dong. The doorbell rang. Li Chenglong hurried to open the door and said, Boss, think again. Boss, please reconsider. It's quite a good deal. Zhou Xiaoduo trembled. He touched his body and looked around. Nian Cat did not secretly plant a listening device, did she? He had to be careful. He had to be careful. Class monitors Zhou. Gao Qiao's crisp voice rang. Her eyes were curved and she was smiling. She was gentle, generous, and beautiful. Cough, cough, cough. Zhou Xiaoduo coughed a few times. He tried to put on a cold persona and said reservedly, Please sit, please sit. Your presence brings light to my humble dwelling. Please sit. Chapter 656. Haha. Gao Qiao laughed. Why are you being so polite? Li Chenglong gestured for Gao Changxiang to sit down. Thank you for your hard work in the Starlight Mountains, Monitor Zhou. Gao Qiao grumbled and said faintly, Squad Leader Zhou. I still don't understand. When you just left, I sent you a message. At that time, I believed that you didn't leave the city. Even if you left the city, you were only at the border area. There's a way back. Why didn't you come back? Your choice this time is too risky. Gao Chao's complaint was accompanied by a smile. She sounded close to him, as if they were old friends. Swishaoduo laughed dryly. At that time my phone was already in my ring, so I didn't receive any messages. I waited until nighttime, when I walked far away and took out my phone to check the time. Only then did I see so many unread messages. Gao Chao smiled sweetly and said, "You still have to be careful when you do things." However, class monitors was skilled and daring. He is full of tricks and is extremely intelligent. Although it is surprising that he is able to walk through danger so easily, it is not unreasonable. If it were anyone else, they would have been lucky enough to escape alive. But monitors, you've gained a lot. When I heard the news from the school, I was really shocked. Gao Chao covered her mouth and laughed. She laughed happily and playfully. The first thing we did was to ask our families for resources and money. Ha. We quickly settled on the Beast King meat. I have to say that we've all made great progress this time. We have to thank Monitor Zhua for your generosity. Then she stood up and bowed respectfully. I will never forget your kindness. Zhuo, on the other hand, felt a little uncomfortable. He smiled and said, "There's no need to be so polite. I've also received the money. Besides, I don't have much use for the spiritual meat." Gao Chao said seriously, "It's your business whether it's useful or not. But you're so generous. Even if it's the market price, it's still generous. Selling it at 1/10 of the market price is even more generous." Chao was still very clear about this point. "Monitor Zhua, you're a real man." Gao Chao praised him from the bottom of her heart. They chatted for a while more before Gao Chao shifted the topic to the purpose of her visit. "Actually, it's nothing. It's just that we didn't dare to come and disturb you because you were busy." Gao Chao said, "Now that everything has been settled, it's time to take a breather. Aren't we here to disturb you and make our presence known? If we don't come, I'm afraid that class monitors will be so pleased with himself that he will forget about us." As she spoke, she giggled. Her tone was both friendly and playful. The distance between them was just right, without the slightest hint of uneasiness. Zhuo waved his hand. "You're too kind. This time in the Starlight Mountain Range, your Gao family has helped me a lot. I've always wanted to pay you a visit to express my gratitude, but I've been busy with many trivial matters and haven't had the time. Instead, I let Chao come over." Gao Chao smiled sweetly. "Class monitors, you think too highly of them. After they went back, they were scolded by my grandpa. They didn't help at all. Instead, they made things worse. With the strength of class monitors was bodyguards, the few of us from the Gao family can only embarrass ourselves and make a fool of ourselves. We've embarrassed ourselves in front of class monitors." She smiled guiltily. "If Monitor Zhua says that you can't thank me enough, Chao will be too ashamed to show her face." Li Chenglong listened to them with a warm face. Listening to Gao Chao's words, Li Chenglong could not help but have a feeling that she was watertight, sensible, and natural. Moreover, she was meticulous in her thinking and was like a spring breeze. She kept a distance and paid attention to everything. She didn't cross the line. But every word she said was invisibly closing the distance between them. She always kept a safe distance. It was hard for people to feel disgusted with her. When they were close enough to each other to show off something, she would pull away from him without a trace. She didn't advance rashly. She really kept the distance to the extreme. At least it was the extreme of a young man at this age. Gao Chao talked for a while and drank 2 cups of tea. Then she finally patted her head and laughed. "Look at me. I'm still young. I forget about business when I'm happy." After she finished speaking, she gently touched her interspatial ring, and a small jade bottle suddenly appeared in her hand. She paused for a moment before saying, 13 years ago, our Gao family's ancestor coincidentally obtained 3 drops of Monarch Grade Star Beast Essence blood at an auction. Consider it a small gift from our family to class Monitor Zhua." She smiled gracefully and said, "Monitor Zhua, please don't think it's too little. Actually, Monitor Zhua doesn't need it. However, Monitor Zhua has recently obtained the remains of 2 king-level demon beasts. I think Monitor Zhua might have some heaven and earth treasures produced by the remains of the ancient demon beasts. If the blood essence of this kind of emperor-level demon beast is diluted with water and sprinkled on the spiritual roots of heaven and earth treasures, the effect will be immediate. It will effectively improve the quality of the heaven and earth treasures. Gao Chao smiled and said, "Class monitors please give us some face and accept this small token of our appreciation." Li Chenglong admired her even more. Not only was the Gao family's gift generous, but it was also well chosen and meticulously crafted. Zhuoxiaoduo didn't lack heaven and earth treasures, cultivation consumables, or resources. At least he didn't care about them. However, when it came to improving the quality of heaven and earth treasures, it was exactly what Zhuoxiaoduo wanted. He didn't want to refuse. Ha ha ha. How can I accept it? As expected, Zhuoxiaoduo smiled like a flower and accepted it. Then the atmosphere became more and more harmonious. Gao Chengxiang only said a few words when there was a chance. However, he admired his cousin more and more. Her eloquence and her ability to deal with people left him in the dust. He didn't even know where to start learning. Such a way of dealing with people was innate. It wasn't something that could be achieved by training. After a short pause, Gao Chao changed the topic and talked about the changes in the Gao family. Speaking of which, there were a lot of twists and turns this time. When Monitorswa was in the Starry Mountain range, we knew that Monitorswa didn't need our help. However, the Gao family's attitude was necessary. Especially because of the grudges from before. It was inevitably awkward. There was a big quarrel in the family because of it. Gao Chengxiang was thinking, why did she expose her own shortcomings and talk about the quarrel because of grudges? What was the reason? He couldn't figure it out. However, at this point, he didn't think that Gao Chao's words were unreasonable. Instead, he naturally thought that there must be a reason. It must be useful. However, he still couldn't figure it out. This quarrel is also an opportunity for the Gao family. It's a chance for us to make a choice. Because now the head of the family has decided to give up the position. And the other branches of the family have also started to gain full control of the family's power thanks to Monitorswa. Gao Chao's beautiful eyes looked at Zhuoxiaoduo's face. She said, after this incident, maybe Chao will become the first female head of the Gao family in the future. Speaking of which, it's also the current head of the family who made this concession so that the younger generation can grow up smoothly. He's really great. There's nothing to say about the Gao family. Zhuoxiaoduo nodded slowly and said, this old man really puts the Gao family first in everything. I know that Gao Yan'er and Gao Ping'er are this old man's granddaughters. Gao Chao sighed softly and said, yes. So it's really not easy for Grandpa family head to take this step. Although this matter is closely related to Monitorswa. Cough cough, I still want to say that this kind of choice and determination isn't something an ordinary person can make. Zhuoxiaoduo sighed emotionally. That's right. Who can let go of a blood feud just like that? At this point everything was out in the open. The atmosphere gradually shifted in the direction of a heavy atmosphere. Gao Chao said softly, but Grandpa family head's final decision has made us, the younger generation, heave a collective sigh of relief. Haha, it's not that we're heartless. It's just that. In every era there's bound to be influential people who rise with the wind and the clouds. And under the feet of such people, there's no lack of untimely corpses. When a dragon soars and the clouds dance, there's bound to be wind and rain. When a general succeeds, there'll be mountains of white bones, let alone an influential person who soars in a major event like the rise and fall of the continent. We're certain that Monitorswa will definitely soar into the sky and become a dragon. And we're even more unwilling to bury our own lives and futures in the hands of a genius who might become our friend for the sake of someone else's hatred. So, Gao Chao sat up straight and looked seriously at Zhuoxiaoduo. Our Gao family from today onwards will follow Monitorswa's lead. But if there's any violation, we'll be hated by the heavens. We'll be abandoned by the heavens. We'll be destroyed by the heavens. With the heavens as proof, Gao Chao, in the name of the future master of the Gao family, swears with blood. I swear by the heavens. The blade flashed. Gao Chao's finger was cut open. A stream of green blood sprinkled in the air. A misty blood mist still lingered in the air. Everyone's hearts were violently shaken by this sudden turn of events. It was as if a great power was watching over here. The blood mist vibrated in the air and turned into a bloodline that penetrated Gao Chao's forehead. The oath was made. Zhuoxiao's heart was also shaken. He said repeatedly, "You're exaggerating. You're exaggerating." Gao Chao sat up straight and said solemnly, "But if there's a decision, it must be made promptly. Haven't you heard of the saying that opportunity is fleeting and will never come again? Since we've decided on our target, we should stick to it. Our Gao family is willing to take a big gamble on Monitor Zhua." Chapter 657. The bet is the survival of the entire Gao family. If we win, we will follow squad leader Zhua and ride the clouds. If we lose, we lose. In the history of the past, which family has not made such a huge bet? We can see people who won the bet in history, but how many people lost the bet? Gao Chao was high-spirited. "My generation will take this bet as fate." At this moment, Li Chenglong said in a meaningful tone, intentionally or otherwise, "Isn't it too early for the Gao family to make this decision and take this position?" Gao Chao's heart tightened, and she almost wanted to strangle this guy to death. However, she smiled sweetly. "Vice Squad Leader Li, if we wait until Squad Leaders Wu becomes famous before making the decision, I'm afraid our Gao family won't have a position even if we are 10,000 miles away." Li Chenglong smiled faintly. "Even now, there aren't many positions." Gao Chao also smiled faintly and said leisurely, "Even if it's a peripheral position, our Gao family has the advantage now. As for the future, we'll leave it to fate." Li Chenglong's faint smile caused Gao Chao to feel depressed. Originally, this was the first pledge of allegiance that Zhuoxiao received from a foreign family in Fenghai, and it was very meaningful. However, because of Li Chenglong's words, Zhuoxiao had the concept of first place in his heart. Although it was still the first, in Zhuoxiao's heart it wasn't the first. Li Chenglong's vigilance against the Gao family is really everywhere, and he's always paying attention to us. Perhaps there are people here who don't understand. A simple explanation would be, if Li Chenglong didn't interrupt, Zhuoxiao would have to declare his allegiance in the face of the Gao family's clear declaration of allegiance and the heavenly law blood oath. However, this declaration was a little too early. If Zhuoxiao became successful in the future, Li Chenglong, Li Changming, Long Yuxing, Yu Moyan, and the others would be the top echelon of power. As for the Xiang clan, they were barely able to squeeze into the first echelon. However, the Gao clan, because of their attitude this time, would also be able to obtain a spot in the first echelon. In fact, their position would even be higher than the Xiang clans, because this was the first family to defect. However, with the addition of Li Chenglong's words, it formed another layer of concept. Zhuoxiao would definitely have to consider the matter of leaving a spot. Since he had to think about it, he wouldn't give a direct answer now, because there was already Li Chenglong's interruption as a buffer. What Zhuoxiao needed to consider was, for example, Meng Zhongjun, Hao Han, Zhen Piapiao, and so on. These seats had to be reserved. These people might not be able to become the first group, but for now, before the Gao clan expressed their stance, they were still closer than the Gao clan and were more trustworthy. After all, there was no grudge between them, only a beautiful future. But now, such a big family wouldn't declare their allegiance. This meant that the Gao clan had been kicked out of the first echelon by Li Chenglong's words. They couldn't even enter the second echelon, which meant that they had slipped into the third echelon. If Zhuoxiao's future achievements were ordinary, it would be fine. However, if Zhuoxiao became someone like the left and right Heavenly King or the Four Directions Marshal in the future, then the gap between the first echelon and the second echelon would be extremely huge. However, if the Gao clan didn't believe that Zhuoxiao would definitely become a dragon in the future, they wouldn't have to compromise so much if they wanted to earn this merit. Unfortunately, even though they had already compromised so much, it was ruined by Li Chenglong's words. How could Gao Chao not be frustrated? Not only was she frustrated, but she was also so angry that her lungs were about to explode. However, no matter how angry she was, she couldn't be angry at Li Chenglong, let alone hold a grudge against him. If she offended Li Chenglong because of this, the Gao clan wouldn't be able to enter this circle even if they had to pay 10 or 100 times more. Li Chenglong was already destined to be the second most important person in the Zhuo duo group. From a certain perspective, his words could even sway Zhuo Xiaoduo's thoughts and actions. It was true. Zhuo Xiaoduo secretly gave Li Chenglong a look of admiration. Swollen sudden words really solved his big problem. If Li Chenglong didn't say anything, Zhuo Xiaoduo would have to express his acceptance or rejection. The other party had already made a heavenly Dao blood oath. As his master, couldn't he say something? No matter what, he had to show some goodwill and even sincerity. With this interruption, Zhuo Xiaoduo was much more at ease and had more room to maneuver. Zhuo Xiaoduo smiled and said, "It's really too early." Haha, as the person involved, I'm not mentally prepared to achieve great things. However, I've never rejected goodwill, and even sincerity. I've never thought about what the future will be like. However, I, Zhuo Xiaoduo, am still able to share weal and woe with you. Zhuo Xiaoduo thought for a while with a rare seriousness and said, all in all, it's still too early. Naturally, it's still too early to say anything. Li Chenglong interrupted again. Zhuo, Senior Gao has already said so much. You're just ignoring her good intentions. Even if we take 10,000 steps back, aren't you going to give her something in return? The hatred in Gao Qiao's heart grew bigger and bigger. She almost broke her cultivation and jumped up, swinging her big stick and smashing it on Li Chenglong's bald head. This bastard, he's really too bad. If Zhuo Xiaoduo only accepted it and didn't give anything in return, it would mean one thing. However, if he gave something in return, the meaning would change. Zhuo Xiaoduo patted his forehead and said, speaking of which, I do have a few little things here. It's not really a gift in return, but it's still a token of my appreciation. After saying that, he turned his wrist and a crystal clear bead appeared in his palm. This bead was the size of a fist. There seemed to be countless rainbows flowing inside. With the appearance of the bead, there seemed to be a strange aura emerging and rising layer by layer. This kind of aura, this kind of atmosphere, made one's hair stand on end and shudder. It also made Gao Qiao, who wanted to say something, suddenly stop. This was the bead on the leg of the centipede queen. Zhuo Xiaoduo had more than 1,000 of these beads in his hands. Of course he could ignore it. Just like the spiritual meat of the Beast King, there were too many of them. However, this kind of Demon King's bead, no matter where it was, could be regarded as a treasure. It could even be regarded as a family heirloom in an ordinary big family. This is a Demon King's bead. Zhuo Xiaoduo said seriously, I deeply feel your family's appreciation. Accept it completely, and engrave it in my heart. Especially, you have such high expectations for me. I'm overjoyed, but I'm also really scared. I'm still young, I'm still a child. Zhuo Xiaoduo said faintly. Gao Qiao's lips twitched. 100 million complaints rose in her heart, but she didn't know how to spit them out. This Demon King's bead has the effect of being immune to all poisons. As long as it's not some strange poison, you only need to roll the centipede bead on the wound and the poison will be immediately removed. I'll give it to Miss Gao as a gift in return. Zhuo Xiaoduo said very sincerely, and there was a deep meaning behind it. He said that he would give it to Miss Gao, not to your family. Even the slow-witted Gao Changxiang was able to discern this. This time it was Gao Qiao's turn to be in a dilemma. She didn't know what to do. It had to be said that this Demon King's bead was an irresistible treasure that the Gao family in Fenghai yearned for even in their dreams. In Jianghu, people couldn't avoid fighting and killing, and such sneaky tricks like poisoning were even harder to guard against. Once you were poisoned, you would die. As long as you had this Demon King's bead, you would be 99% immune to this most dreaded trick. The 3 drops of Emperor-level demonic beast blood were certainly good things. Although they seemed to be reusable, they had relatively harsh conditions. However, this Demon King's bead could be reused. It was even qualified to be a family heirloom. Even if it was used for thousands of years, it wouldn't be damaged. In terms of practical value, it was much higher than the Emperor-level demonic beast blood. Gao Qiao wanted to decline, but she was afraid that if she declined, it would be gone. Moreover, Gao Qiao still wanted it from the bottom of her heart. Li Chenglong said on the side, Senior Qiao, don't decline. Giving each other gifts is a necessary way to get along with each other. It's not the way to go in the long run. Don't you think so? Gao Qiao's feelings toward Li Chenglong were mixed with gratitude and anger. However, gratitude only accounted for 10%, and the remaining 90% was anger. This guy was really full of evil tricks. Why did he have to be so guarded against me? Gao Qiao'er's position toward herself and the Gao family was very accurate. From the beginning, she had put her position low enough. She didn't covet Li Chenglong's position at all, and she didn't dare to covet it. Therefore, even though she was proud of her extraordinary intelligence, she never dreamed of replacing Li Chenglong's position. But even so, Li Chenglong still messed up the situation. The good situation was reversed, and then it took a turn for the worse. And Zhuoxiao's reward was a treasure that she couldn't refuse. What could she do? She could only grit her teeth and accept it, but she still smiled like a flower. Thank you, class monitor Zhua. Li Chenglong said on the side. Zhua actually, with Senior Qiao'er as the head of the Gao family in the future, similar to the previous gains, can be maximized through the Gao family. Zhuoxiaoduo was stunned for a moment, and said in a low voice, but we're still students of the Hidden Dragon High School. Won't we be neglecting the essentials and chasing after the trifles? Li Chenglong said, but we have to graduate eventually. After graduation, we still have to chase after these gains and losses. Zhuoxiaoduo pondered for a moment, and after a long time he slowly nodded. Gao Qiao'er's eyes lit up. After Gao Qiao'er and Gao Changxiang left and got into the car, they drove out slowly. When they were about to reach the Gao family, they were still in deep thought. This could be said to be a trip to surrender. But in reality, intentionally or unintentionally, it turned into a confrontation between Gao Qiao'er and Li Chenglong. Gao Qiao'er was at a disadvantage from the beginning to the end. All her plans were ruined by Li Chenglong by 80%. Chapter 658. On the surface, Gao Qiao'er was very talkative from the beginning to the end. She spoke a lot. Her attitude made it clear that the atmosphere was under her control. Li Chenglong only said a few words from the beginning to the end. At most it was less than 1% of what Gao Qiao'er said. But in terms of mentality, Gao Qiao'er felt that she was completely at a disadvantage. She couldn't even struggle or fight back. Sigh. Gao Qiao'er finally sighed deeply when they drove into the Gao family's courtyard. Do you know what I hate the most now? What? Gao Chongxiang asked. What I hate the most is Gao Yin'er and Gao Ping'er, those two idiots. If it weren't for the past grudges, I'm confident that our Gao family would be in the most advantageous position. What a pity. Gao Qiao'er sighed again and again. This is fate. Gao Chongxiang didn't understand. He asked in a low voice, Zhuoxiaoduo is indeed a peerless genius. No one can doubt that. But is he really worth our entire family doing this for? Gao Qiao'er snorted and said, so, you men don't know what you're thinking. You only think about fighting and being brave. What's the use of that? If you can't even see a person's potential, then you're useless. We women from ancient times until now. Although the status of women has risen a lot, whether a woman lives well or not, most of the time it's because of her judgment of men. Did you choose the right man? Did he have potential? In this aspect, in terms of intuition, men are thousands of miles behind women. Because this is a kind of talent. It's an instinct. Do you understand? These words made Gao Changxiang smile bitterly. He actually managed to come up with an experience? Gao Qiao'er thought for a while and said, Zhuoxiaoduo is definitely worth our effort. Even what we're doing now is far from enough. Gao Changxiang said. He has the potential to be a marshal? To be honest, Gao Changxiang had reservations about Gao Qiao'er's judgment. Looking at her now, which part of her could be a marshal? Could she be a high-ranking official? Could she be a leader? Gao Qiao'er pondered seriously. After a long time she said word by word, I'm afraid. More than that. Gao Changxiang was really shocked this time. He was a little creeped out by these 4 words and didn't know what to do. More than that. Marshal. However, Gao Changxiang's interruption caused the matter that Gao Qiao'er was originally considering to deviate greatly. When he finished talking to Gao Changxiang and turned back to think about his own matters, he vaguely felt that there was a key point. The moment he was about to grasp it, his train of thought was disrupted by Gao Changxiang, and he couldn't remember it for a moment. Because of this interruption, Gao Changxiang, a direct bloodline disciple of the Gao family, was sent to clean the toilets by Gao Chao in the future. But no matter what, Gao Chao's heart was still hanging in the air. During this period of time, the entire astral soul's mainland was in turmoil. Many well-known families fell from grace, including the Gao family of Shangjing, the Gao family's ancestral bloodline. Although Feng Hai was the first to realize this, they had already expressed their goodwill to Zhuo Duo. Many of the family's experts had died because they helped Zhuo Duo. Moreover, the family had only been established for a short period of time, so they didn't do many outrageous things. They were not qualified to be involved in the plans of the Gao family of Shangjing, which allowed the Gao family of Feng Hai to smoothly survive this crisis. However, the annihilation of the ancestral bloodline in Shangjing caused Feng Hai to lose its source. Although they were still one of the few major forces in Feng Hai, their strength was nothing in the astral soul's mainland. They were like ants. They needed to find another backer, and it had to be a backer that they could rely on. That was why they made this gamble. Although this time, because of Li Chenglong's intervention, Gao Chao's original plan failed, but they still got a clear attitude. With Zhuo Xiaoduo's acceptance this time, they had achieved their basic goal. Gao Chao was quite satisfied with this result. She was sure that among all the families, including Zhuo Xiaoduo's natural supporters, her Gao family of Feng Hai was definitely the first to pledge their allegiance. This first position, no one could take it away. Especially after this time, Li Chenglong's side would definitely be alert. Those who wanted to join later would probably be ruthlessly suppressed by Li Chenglong. But that had nothing to do with the Gao family. In fact, the harder Li Chenglong suppressed them, the better. Next, they just needed to continue to show their sincerity and work hard. As for the Demon King's Pearl that Gao Chao brought back, the Gao family was overjoyed. Originally, they felt that giving away the Emperor-level Demon Beast's blood essence was a big loss, but they didn't expect to make a big profit in the end. Good treasure. The elderly head looked at the wound on Gao Chengxiang's leg and praised with satisfaction. Gao Chengxiang's face was sad. It was imperative to test the effect of the Demon King's Pearl. But did they have to test it on me? They caught a poisonous snake and bit me? What the fuck? What a fucking operation. I was just a little bit closer to it. Can you understand the feeling of being bitten by a poisonous snake without moving? When the sharp fangs bit me, I could feel how it injected the venom. Keep it well. The elderly head was pleased. I didn't expect young masters to be so generous. He looked at Gao Chao. Chao, this time you've done a great job. Gao Chao smiled calmly. That night, Gao Chao's biological mother came to her room. Chao, are you? Mom, what's the matter? Is it so hard to ask? Chao, are you interested in young masters? Gao Chao was stunned. That's impossible, Mom. Gao Chao looked a little disappointed. I've been too smart. I've been too scheming. Any man who wants to achieve great things won't choose me. Even those who have made up their mind to have multiple wives will have to worry. If they take me as their concubine, I'll mess up their home and bully the other women to death. Gao Chao smiled faintly. So, it's impossible for me. Don't worry. Her mother looked worried. Chao, you have to think about your own things. Don't be like this. Gao Chao turned to look at the night sky outside the window and said softly, Mom, do you know? If I really want to be Zhuo Xiaoduo's woman, the first condition is that everyone in the Gao family is dead. Only then will I have a chance. Her mother was stunned. I really don't plan to do that. Gao Chao said softly. Looking at the night sky, the girl seemed to be confirming something. She bit her lips and murmured, I really don't plan to do that. After Gao Chao left, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong sat cross-legged on the sofa. One leaned against the other on the sofa, and the other lay down on the other sofa. They looked like a boneless snake. What do you think? Li Chenglong rolled his eyes and asked. What else can I think? Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't care. How can I not think? The Gao family is really early. Li Chenglong sighed sincerely. When everything was not clear, the Gao family of Feng Hai, who had a blood feud, was actually able to make a prompt decision and bet in advance. Li Chenglong was extremely impressed by his courage. Duo rolled his eyes. I don't want to do anything big. The Gao family, I feel that their choice is a little blind. They are letting their imagination run wild. However, to be able to end the past hatred in one day, this result is not bad. It's better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Duo said, besides, we can't be sure whether it's true or not, right? Li Chenglong smiled bitterly. How can it be false under the blood oath of the heavenly Tao? Let's take it one step at a time. The Gao family actually took the initiative this time. It's beyond our expectations. Li Chenglong sighed and touched his bald head subconsciously. During this time his bald head had been mocked. But so be it. Ever since Swa became bald, Li Chenglong had been prepared. This guy will definitely make me bald. As expected. His understanding of Boss Swa was quite deep. What's your cultivation level now? Why don't you hurry up and cultivate? Swa Duo asked. The middle stage of the inner core stage. Li Chenglong's voice was filled with melancholy. He had eaten so much raw beast king spirit meat, but his cultivation level had only increased by a little. He was getting further and further away from Swa. It was so sad. He would probably be beaten to death if he told others about this. Your cultivation progress is really a little slow. Swa Duo expressed his disdain. Li Chenglong felt that he had suffered a double blow. He went to cultivate alone. Swa Duo, on the other hand, turned around and went upstairs, entering the Void Extermination Tower. During this period of time, Xiaolong had painstakingly moved in 3 earth veins from the outside world. It was equivalent to 3 complete earth veins, and he was still in the process of moving them. The inside of the Tower of Annihilation had changed greatly, as Swa Duo spared no expense to purchase the Astral Soul's jade powder, and the earth veins in the space were getting bigger and bigger. The earth veins in the space were becoming more and more magnificent and majestic. Looking at it from afar, it was a completely formed mountain range. Although it was still lacking compared to the huge mountains outside, its internal structure was greatly different. It was already several hundred meters tall, and its top and bottom were integrated into one. It was enough to suppress one's luck and stabilize one's fate. As the earth veins in the space were getting bigger and bigger, the treasures of heaven and earth that Swa Duo moved in were not just barely maintained, but were growing healthily. The most obvious change in the mountain range was the growth of green grass. It was so green that it was pleasing to the eye. The speed of cultivation in the Tower of Annihilation was equal to half a month in the outside world. Without hesitation, Swa Duo diluted the 3 drops of Emperor-level demonic beast blood essence and watered the roots of the Dragon Soul Ginseng and the Snake King fruit in the space. The remaining 2 Dragon Soul Ginseng were better than the one Qin Fangyang took. After being nourished by the Emperor-level demonic beast blood essence, they even began to emit a golden brilliance. Chapter 659. The situation is not bad. Swa Duo was thinking about moving in a few spiritual fruit trees. However, the spiritual fruits and seedlings provided by the academy were not good enough for Swa Duo. The quality is too low. Moreover, the fruits are sold in the market. There is no need to plant them. If there is a need, I can just buy them. What I need to pay attention to in the future is to find some high-quality spiritual plants and spiritual roots. Swa Duo was now considering whether to bring Li Chenglong in for cultivation in the future. The functions of the Tower of Annihilation would only become more and more heaven-defying. If it continued to develop at this speed, his cultivation and strength would soon leave Li Chenglong and the others far behind. Gradually, he would reach a level where they could only look up to him. However, if that was the case, was it really meaningful for him to walk the path of cultivation alone? However, the secret of the Tower of Annihilation's time flow was too big. Swa Duo was not worried about Li Chenglong. However, what about Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing? Long Yusheng? Wan Li Xiao? Yu Moyan and the others? Well, Nian Niao was not in his consideration. If there was a chance in the future, he would definitely bring her in for cultivation. Who knows, they might even be able to do something else. He remembered that before Qin Fangyang left. Swa Duo specifically asked. Qin Fangyang pondered for a long time. Others might not be able to do it at all. However, Li Chenglong. In the end, Qin Fongyang only said, "You have to grasp it yourself. However, before you have absolute confidence, you can't let anyone in. This tower is not just a mystical object now. It is a mystical treasure. A mystical treasure in the world. Once the news is leaked, no matter who you are or who you have behind you, it will still be difficult to protect yourself. You might even lose your life along with it. No matter how careful you are, you can't be too careful." In the end, Qin Fongyang did not say whether it would work or not. Instead, he warned him seriously. "Then, let's wait for a while. Let's wait until the spirit recognizes me as its master." Zhuo Duo sighed in his heart. "When I'm stronger and have enough trump cards to deal with unexpected situations, we'll talk about it again." The two sword-winged tigers that were enveloped by the misty yellow light had already become much dimmer. Zhuo Duo could even see two pocket-sized tiger cubs sleeping inside, looking charmingly naive. Zhuo Duo could confirm that these two saber-winged tigers were being transformed from head to toe by the heavenly tiger moonlight ointment. They had been completely reborn and had transcended their original shackles. It was impossible to predict how far he would go in the future, but he could predict the path ahead. Looking at the remaining faint yellow light on their bodies, Zhuo Duo estimated that it would take 3 to 5 days for the two tigers to wake up. He just didn't know if it would be the old tiger that woke up or a new cat that he no longer knew. "Forget it, let's practice first." Zhuo Duo entered a meditative state. It had been almost a month since he had broken through to the inner core realm. With the help of the spatial extermination pagoda, Zhuo's cultivation had already reached the high level of the inner core realm. However, he still did not relax. After all, the stronger he was, the better. Feng Yinhua used the Beast King's spiritual meat to break through to the God-reigning realm. "I should also make good use of my time and work hard to improve," Zhuo Duo urged himself. After Zhuo Duo gave him 25 kilograms of Beast King's meat, Feng Yinhua, who had already reached the peak of the cloud transformation realm, successfully broke through to the God-reigning realm. This result made Zhuo Duo feel very helpless. "Why don't you try to compress your true yuan?" Feng Yinhua said that he had already suppressed it 3 times. Now that he ate a mouthful of meat, it directly exploded. Even he himself did not expect the effect to be so good. The next morning, when Zhuo Duo, who had already grown a few inches of hair, and Li Chenglong, who had just started to grow hair, appeared at the Hidden Dragon High School, they realized that something was wrong. Almost all the students were busy outside cleaning the place. It seemed like they were doing a thorough cleaning. The entire Hidden Dragon High School had an exceptionally tidy feeling. From the inside to the outside, everything was clean and tidy. On the tall building, many senior students could be seen flying around, cleaning the windows. When Xingtian and the other teachers were flying in the air, working together to gather clouds. Wherever there was a need to wash, there would be a rainstorm. Even outside the Hidden Dragon High School, there was a large group of students, constantly cleaning the place. What's going on? Could it be that some important person is coming? Zhuo Duo pulled Xiang Bing, who was waving a large broom. Isn't it because some important person is coming to inspect? Xiang Bing's face was filled with depression. She said faintly, "I just received the notice this morning, and it already caused such chaos." Important person? What important person? How would I know? Xiang Bing was also confused. Zhuo Duo became more and more curious. What kind of important person was coming to inspect the place and make it so serious? To be able to make the entire high martial arts school stop cultivating and clean the place. "Alright, you guys go ahead and clean up. I'm going to cultivate." Zhuo Duo turned around and was about to leave. "Work. I won't do it. Remember to clean it up. Don't procrastinate." Zhuo Duo walked out, patting everyone's shoulders and urging them. He acted like an unsympathetic supervisor, and all the students who were working glared at him angrily. "You and you, holding a broom and sweeping the sky? Go down, press down the dust." "Zhen Piao, what's the meaning of you holding a little tiger when you're working? Your tiger has already grown up. Let it come down and work. Why aren't you moving? Are you waiting to eat tiger meat?" "Meng Zhongjun, what are you and Hao Han doing?" Are you standing still and slacking off? Xiangcheng, aren't you working here? Why are you running around? Don't you want to help your wife work? Don't even think about it. Hurry up and work. Do you believe that I won't beat you up for being a traitor? Yuyan are you working or coaxing your tiger to play? Aren't you embarrassed? Swishaoduo shouted as he walked. Look at all of you. Hurry up and do your work. Hey, who is this in front? Get out of the way. Don't block my way back to sleep. Everyone who heard him gnashed their teeth. None of them did not want to beat him to death. However, the situation was more powerful than the person. They knew very well that they were no match for him. There was nothing they could do about this bitch. Swishaoduo's sarcasm was fast, and he also slipped away quickly. In the blink of an eye, he was already at the school gate. However, a shout came from the air. Swishaoduo. Swishaoduo ran away. I'm not here. With a whooshing sound when Xingtian flew down. Bang! Swishaoduo let out a blood-curdling screech as he fell back into the middle of the field. He landed on his back with a perfect swastika shape. It's too painful. Swishaoduo rolled and screamed, Teacher Wan you, trying to run? When Xingtian took a step forward, grabbed Swishaoduo by the back of his neck and walked away. Why are you running? You haven't finished your work yet. Swishaoduo kept kicking in the air. I can walk on my own. Teacher Wan. When Xingtian didn't care at all. He just carried the big toad and walked away. Awesome. Xiangcheng looked satisfied. Many people around him immediately responded and shouted in unison, Awesome. Indeed, seeing this bitch embarrass himself really made them feel good. Behind them, Li Chenglong, who was pretending to be working, secretly raised his head. His face was still full of fear. I wanted to follow him just now. Fortunately, I didn't. That was close. Yi Chongqing was having an emergency meeting with Xiang Quangren, Vice Principal Cheng, and Vice Principal Lu. Why did the higher-ups choose Hidden Dragon High School to inspect this time? There should be some other reason, right? I've never heard of so many important people inspecting a high school together. And Yunduan Ancestral Dragon didn't even go for an inspection. There must be something strange about this. Yi Chongqing was suspicious, but there was nothing he could do. The head of the martial arts department and several marshals came for an inspection together. This matter was not just big, it was simply too big. There must be some other reason. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to gather all these people. But what is it? Forget it. To be able to attract these important people, it must be something big that only people of their level can do. There's no possibility of us getting involved. We'll just be responsible for the reception. There's only half a month left before the parents' meeting. For this to happen at this juncture, it can't be so coincidental, right? I keep feeling that there's a connection between the two. Yi Chongqing frowned and said, This time, it's said that they've brought a few juniors over. Maybe they'll spar with the high school students. Who will we send? There must be a match between Yunduan Realm students and Nascent Soul Realm students. But we don't have to worry about Jindan Realm students. Yi Chongqing was having an emergency meeting. When Xingtian came in with Swishaoduo. This guy is here. Well, if there's a suitable one, let him go. With his skills, he can guarantee a victory. Well, it's settled. In the sky not far from Fenghai City, a group of people gathered together and were heading towards the Starry Mountains. Let's go and see if there's really a relic. We also need to confirm if the Lu family people are here. Let's go directly to the Starry Mountains. Okay, where's Wu Taijiang? He's on his way here. That's good. Let's take a look. We don't need to do anything. Let's wait until everyone is here. This bit of eloquence still needs to be said. Good. They should be here soon. Quite a lot of people from the Umno Alliance came this time. Out of the 12 great shamans, a total of 11 came. Minister Ding smiled bitterly. It seems that they're really treating this as a vacation. Yu Dongtian smiled. Let's not talk about other things. The Great Fire Shaman couple will definitely come. After so many years, they're going to die of boredom. How can they not sneak out to play when Uncle Zua isn't here? Everyone laughed heartily in their hearts. That matter was really a mischievous matter that made everyone want to piss their pants. By the way, when everyone is here, Wu Taijiang and I won't go to the Hidden Dragon High School. Chief Nanfang smiled. You can go, but don't forget to do business. Well, we have to finish business first. Chapter 660. Ah, why aren't you going? The others were all stunned when they heard this. Weren't you the one overseeing this? Why don't you want to go at this time? The Heavenly King of the Right laughed and said, No problem, you don't have to go if you don't want to. Then he glared at them and said, Why are you so curious? Isn't it better if Nan Zhengqian doesn't go? Marshal Dongfang, Marshal Shiman, and the others looked at Minister Nan and the Heavenly King of the Right suspiciously. There's something going on with these people. And it's something we don't know about. Marshal Dongfang said with certainty. Minister Ding and the other inspectors nodded. Yes, there must be something going on. The emperor isn't here yet. If he's here, he can suppress them. Unfortunately, we don't have the power. Marshal Beigong glanced at the King of Zhuolu as he spoke. Now, the only person who could make the Heavenly King of the Right reveal his secret was probably the King of Zhuolu's wife. The King of Zhuolu looked up at the sky. Don't look at me, I don't know anything. Minister Nan was transmitting a message. He sent an urgent message to the Heavenly Kings of the Right and the Left and the Lady of the Right. I'm warning you. If he were to give himself away, then everyone would die together. I'm still on the blacklist. The Heavenly King of the Right, Yu Dongtian, glanced at the Nanjingqian proudly. This guy is still on the blacklist? That's great. Do you know why you're on the blacklist? We're here to accompany the marshals. We're just followers, so it's not important. Yu Dongtian chuckled. Marshal Dongfang and the others smiled bitterly. Damn it, I can't afford to have followers like you. Followers. I also think it's better not to expose our identities. The Heavenly King of the Left chimed in, surprising everyone. The others were even more surprised. When did the Heavenly Kings of the Right and the Left agree? Fine. They began to discuss in secret. Let Minister Ding lead the team. Yes. When the time comes, he... Ha 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 ha. Department Head Ding of the Martial Arts Department was dumbfounded. What team? What are you guys discussing? Can you let me know? But obviously not. You are only responsible for leading the team. What's the point of knowing so much? Yes, little Ding, you're just a flag. Haha. Wait a moment, don't rush. I know. General Dongfang and the others were also dumbfounded. Right now, the Southern Chief, the Left and Right Heavenly Kings, and the Left Heavenly King's wife were whispering to each other. What was going on? Everyone keep a low profile. Don't go there with your original appearance. Yes, keep a low profile. After all, with so many major characters arriving at the same time, how could the commotion be small? The shock it gave to the students couldn't be small either. Naturally, it was better to keep a low profile. However, the most important thing right now was to meet up with the others first. In an extremely distant location, the 8 senior magi came together with the wind. They swaggered through the defensive line of the Sun and Moon Fortress. They did it openly and openly. The defenders here didn't even raise their heads to look. They were all seizing the time to rest. They had already received the order. Besides, these 8 fellows moved out together. If we went up to intercept them, we would be courting death. There would be no other result. Behind them, there were 3 senior magi leading a team and following closely behind. Among the first echelon, the fire magi were the most active. I haven't been out for a long time. This time I must have a good time. Yes, it's indeed a rare opportunity. Yes, it's a good time since that's Wagai isn't here. The fire magi couple were in high spirits. When we arrive here, we must go to the big city to buy some things. The fire magi's wife was in high spirits. She had already planned to buy goods. When it comes to the necessities of life, this side is much better than our side. That's true. Sister-in-law, brother Lai Hua lost to you last time. It wasn't on purpose. Don't take it to heart. The ice magi persuaded. Lai Hua was dumbfounded. What was this about? After so many years when she was so happy now, what the fuck? Was this persuasion? Sure enough. As soon as this matter was mentioned, the wife immediately flew into a rage. Your second brother is heartless. He's really a weirdo. He can actually lose his wife. Useless thing. Lai Hua's emotions, which were still high just now, were immediately extinguished. He lowered his head deeply. The ice magi hurriedly tried to persuade him. My brother didn't do it on purpose. Nonsense, I'm angry that he's a blockhead. When others dig a hole, he jumps in it. When others dig a hole, he jumps in it. How many times has it been? He doesn't have a long memory. Sister-in-law, calm down. In fact, when I lost to you last time, I couldn't stand it anymore. It was too stupid. Get out of here. The fire magi was angry and roared. Stay away from my wife. Get out of here with the boss. This kid provoked him every day and made him get beaten up. He was really not a good person. He held his wife in his arms and sped up with a whoosh, leaving the team alone. We won't go with you. If you go fast, I'll go slow. If you go slow, I'll go fast. The ice magi had to go to the flood witch's side with some boredom. The flood witch looked at him sideways. Boss, he what? It's said that Wu Du is crazily smashing things in his territory. Don't mention how depressed he is. The ice magi was gloating. Last time Wu Du was forced back into his stomach by Zhua, and he's been holding it in for so many years. This time if we don't take him with us, he'll definitely feel uncomfortable. But there's no other way. It's not that we don't want to take him with us, but that no one likes him. Ha 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 ha. The flood witch looked at the ice magi who was laughing so hard that his 30 or so teeth were exposed. She frowned and said, Ice magi, you've been like this since you were a child. Every time you see others in bad luck, you're as happy as a pug. I'm curious. Others are in bad luck, but you don't get any benefits, right? The ice magi touched his nose and chuckled. The secondary whether I get any benefits or not, but it's really cool to see others in bad luck. Boss, you don't understand the joy of gloating. The flood witch snorted with a dark face. Boss, this time when we go to Fenghai, do you want to? Go and see your son? Do a hammer. With a shrill scream, the ice magi fell from the clouds. In another direction, the team of the Tao League had entered the territory of the astral souls and was heading toward the Starlight Mountains at a leisurely pace. In the continent of the astral souls, not far from Fenghai City, Zhuochanglu and Wu Yuding came to Fenghai City on a scenic tour. The parent-teacher conference is half a month away. Why are you here so early? Zhuochanglu was displeased. Wu Yuding, who was the initiator of this trip, was very excited. After receiving the notice, she urged Zhuochanglu to set off early. Don't you miss your son at all? Wu Yuding was even more displeased. I haven't seen you for so long. How can you be so heartless? He's your son. The problem is that it's useless to come early. Isn't it enough to see your son early? What else do you want? Okay, you have a point. Besides, at our current speed, it'll take us at least 2 days to get there. Wu Yuding was very displeased. In the past, a breath's time was enough. There was no need to be so slow. Now Wu Yuding was really looking forward to it. She couldn't wait to go to her son's side, hug and kiss him. If it wasn't for this parent-teacher conference, she might have been able to keep her cool. Now that there was such a legitimate opportunity, how could she keep her cool? She urged Zhuochanglu to hurry over early. Principal. Zhuo Xiaoduo was carried by Wen Xingtian into the office from the air. He complained, Principal, you have to help me. Teacher Wen abused me. Teacher Wen hit me again. Beat him up. Yi Chongqing's mouth twitched. His expression was interesting. Vice Principal Liu and Vice Principal Cheng were speechless. Principal, I really didn't do anything. I came to school diligently and carefully, and I practiced and studied diligently. Look at Teacher Wen, she carried me like a puppy, and she even kicked me from time to time. Zhuo Xiaoduo bared his fangs and brandished his claws in the air. He was indignant. I'm a good student with good character and academic performance. I'm a righteous and selfless student leader. I have a bright future ahead of me. Teacher Wen abused me and humiliated me. He has greatly damaged my righteous image. How can I be a role model for the students? How can I raise my head in front of the students? Principal, you have to help me. Wen Xingtian threw Zhuo Xiaoduo to the ground like a rag. He crossed his arms and sneered. How do you want the principal to help you? Xiang Kuangren, Lu Yichuan, and Chang Gaing all chuckled and watched with interest. Yi Chongqing had one eye open and the other closed. He made a strange expression and said sarcastically, "Yeah, how do you want me to help you? Or, how do you want me to treat Teacher 1? Tell me, what do you want me to do to satisfy you?" Zhuo Duo sat on the floor and looked at Wen Xingtian, who was rubbing his hands together. His eyes were full of undisguised malice. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He murmured, "Actually, I just feel that Teacher 1 is working too hard. Takes a lot of effort to get physical with her. So I'm going to suggest that you give Teacher 1 a raise." Ha ha ha. Everyone burst into laughter and the hall was filled with laughter. Wen Xingtian stared at Zhuo Duo for a long time. Finally, he couldn't help but laugh. "Bastard! He was kicked in the butt again. How dare you complain to the teacher?" Another kick. Zhuo Duo covered his butt and pursed his lips. He felt wronged. "Teacher 1, you've worked hard. Actually, I'm thinking for you. You're not young anymore and you're still single." Chapter 661. Let's get down to business. Wen Xingtian snorted and gave him a sideways glance. Yi Chongqing coughed twice and said, "Zhuo Duo." Zhuo Duo perked up and said, "I'm here. This time the leaders are here to inspect and guide us. This is the top priority of the Hidden Dragon High School." Yi Chongqing said, "It must be treated seriously. This time the people who are coming are likely to have a martial arts competition. Zhuo Duo, since you are the student leader, you must participate. I hope that when the time comes, you won't embarrass the Hidden Dragon High School. You must win." Zhuo Duo was full of confidence. "Principal, don't worry. I am invincible in the embryonic breathing realm." Yi Chongqing spat out a mouthful of tea onto Zhuo's head and face. Xiang Quangren laughed until his beard was trembling. This brat was already at the high level of the primordial elixir realm, yet he still had the nerve to say that he was invincible in the embryonic breathing realm. You must be invincible even against an opponent of the primordial elixir realm. No matter who you face, you must win. Yi Chongqing said with a stern face, "This is a hard target. You must complete it." Zhuo Duo said solemnly, "I will do my best and die for it." Bah! Wen Xingtian rubbed his fists and wanted to beat him up again. "You can even defeat a normal Huayun now. Why do you have to be so passionate about fighting a few primordial elixirs? Why do I want to beat him up so badly? Can you fight against an opponent of the infant transformation realm?" Yi Chongqing asked. "This. I can fight, but to say that I will definitely win, it is still debatable." Zhuo Duo deliberated for a while. He wouldn't be so sure. What if he couldn't win? Sister Nian would definitely not be stagnant. Now, she had to be at least at the high level of the infant transformation realm. What if there was a genius like Sister Nian? Although Zhuo Duo was conceited, he didn't dare to say that he would definitely win. Zhuo Duo was wary of the super-strong nascent soul transformation stage cultivator he encountered in the Starry Mountain Range. There were many geniuses in this world. There were still geniuses above geniuses. It was impossible to estimate how strong an individual's strength could be. Zhuo Duo never thought that he was the best in the world. In Zhuo Duo's mind, his first impression was very simple. I'm a very ordinary person with average qualifications. I didn't even enter the path of cultivation before the age of 17. I'm just catching up with those geniuses. My aptitude is ordinary, my family is ordinary, my martial prowess is ordinary, my cultivation is ordinary, and my martial skills are also ordinary. Therefore, I must be careful and not be reckless. There's nothing wrong with being careful. If I was given a chance to sleep under the blanket until the end of the World War, the Star Spirit continent would be victorious. Then I would go home immediately and hug Nian Cat to sleep happily. The most suitable life for me is to eat and wait for death. I'm immortal, invincible, and sleep at home. Yi Chongqing, Wen Xingtian, and the others were very reassured by Zhuo Duo's promise. With regards to this kid's strength, no one was clearer than them. Even if it was an exaggeration, if the Hidden Dragon High School's 4th grade had the highest cultivation level, if they were to fight with Zhuo Duo to the death, who would emerge victorious was still unknown. Those students were already at the cloud transformation stage, and they were the kind of geniuses who had suppressed their cultivation levels several times. Therefore, Zhuo Duo would definitely win the battle. For the whole day, although Zhuo Duo did not participate in the cleaning, he was fiercely trained by Wen Xingtian several times. Along with him were Li Chenglong, Xiang Chong, Xiang Bing, Meng Zhongjun, Hao Han, Zhen Piapiao, Yu Yan Zhang Haonan, Feng Juncheng, Jia Kuang, and the others. In the end, Wen Xingtian confirmed that the geniuses of the hidden sects and even the geniuses of the martial arts high school would not be a match for his students. Even without Zhuo Duo, Li Chenglong alone was enough to suppress them. Xiang Chong, Xiang Bing, Meng Zhongjun, Yu Yan and the others were enough to be outstanding in other schools. It shouldn't be a problem. Wen Xingtian quietly breathed a sigh of relief. It was said that this time, Minister Wen, General Dongfang, and Shimin Beigong had come together for an inspection. It was a big commotion that the lineup accompanying them was not small at all. Wen Xingtian felt that this might be the highest level of inspection by foreign guests since the establishment of the Hidden Dragon High School. The generals of the three armies and the Minister of Martial Arts who was in charge of all the high martial arts education in the entire Astral Souls. Hidden Dragon High School was on guard as if they were facing a great enemy. A day passed. Zhuo Duo and Li Chenglong, who had been beaten up like sandbags for the whole day, returned to the villa and saw Gao Chao standing at the door. "Why are you here?" The two of them were weak. Their faces were covered in dust and they looked even more miserable. "I really didn't mean to wait for you to rest. The situation is really urgent and can't be ignored." Gao Chao saw the two of them in a sorry state and could not help but laugh. "Hurry up and talk. I'll leave after you're done." Since that night, Gao Chao did not treat herself as an outsider anymore. Her words were also becoming more and more impolite. Gao Chao had a very good control of this. She showed the closeness that one of us should have, but also maintained enough respect. As well as enough respect. The inspection this time is very unusual. Gao Chao was very cautious and said, "About this, I wonder what you think, Vice Squad Leader Li." Li Chenglong frowned and said, "I'm not very clear about the true meaning of the inspection. After all, I haven't experienced it before. But generally speaking, the leaders have to inform us in advance of the inspection, right? But this time it came very suddenly. Before today there was no news at all. Seems like it was done on the spur of the moment. But how can the three military leaders be acting together on the spur of the moment? There must be something fishy about it." Gao Chao nodded and said, "That's right. There's another point. The inspection this time happened not long after the massacre of the aristocratic families in the south. At this time, Minister Ding of the Martial Arts Department should be very busy in Shangjing. He should be busy dealing with the aftermath. How can he come out for an inspection at this time? If things are abnormal, there must be something fishy. Plus, the generals of the three armies gathered at the same time. It's an even more serious matter. The three generals have a lot of troops in their hands. They are all shouldering the heavy responsibility of resisting foreign aggression and strengthening our country. How can they come together at the same time?" Gao Chao frowned and said, "The three generals are all here. What about the defense line at the border?" Li Chenglong nodded to show his agreement. Of course he had thought of all these. But he never thought of the reason. He probed, "I'm guessing that nothing happened at the border? But how can the three generals be sure that nothing happened at the border? To be able to make the three generals so assured, there must be some kind of agreement between the higher-ups of both sides. Plus, it must be a situation where there's someone in charge and nothing goes wrong. That's why the three generals let go of the idea that there can never be too much deception in war, and let go of everything to come together?" Gao Chao frowned and said, "I think so too. But this kind of thing is too whimsical. The two sides have been enemies for generations. The hatred is as deep as the sea. Their positions are difficult to reconcile. How can they be so assured of each other? This is not necessarily impossible. In this world, there are no eternal enemies. There are only eternal interests." Li Chenglong said, "In my opinion, only this kind of understanding can explain this kind of behavior that shouldn't have happened. Other than this, there can't be any other possibility." "Yes, that's right." Gao Chao nodded slowly, I thought about it and this is the only possibility. So I'm guessing. The three generals came to inspect with such confidence. Could it be that the higher-ups of the UMNO alliance also came together? If this guess was put in the ears of ordinary people, it would be earth-shattering and shocking. But Li Chenglong thought about it and nodded slowly. Yes, this possibility is very high. Because this is the only way the three generals can truly be assured. Li Chenglong said. But if the higher-ups of the UMNO alliance also came, then it wouldn't be just to inspect the Hidden Dragon Martial School. There must be something else happening. The Hidden Dragon Martial School can't interfere with other things. But the inspection of the Hidden Dragon Martial School, even if it's just a small thing in the journey, is already a big deal for the Hidden Dragon Martial School. Gao Chaoer said then, if there's a martial arts competition, will it not only be an internal fight within the Star Spirit continent, but will there be other races participating as well? The victory or defeat of this fight will be related to the honor of the continent. After Gao Chaoer said this, Li Chenglong and Zhou Xiaoduo's expressions immediately became serious. If no one reminded them of this, they wouldn't have thought of it. After all, they came from a small city like Phoenix City. Their vision was far from that level. So Mr. Zhou Gao Chaoer leisurely stood up. You must be mentally prepared. As one of the most outstanding students of the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts Academy, you will definitely participate in this battle. You must not lower your guard. I estimate that this battle will be exceptionally bitter. Of course, it will also be exceptionally glorious. Li Chenglong thought deeply and nodded slowly. Gao Chaoer left. On the way back, Gao Changxiang, who was still acting as the driver, was confused. I don't understand what you mean by saying all this. Gao Chaoer said lightly, tomorrow's inspection. What should the martial school use to display? It's nothing more than martial arts and strength. And how to display it is better than a battle between geniuses. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong will definitely participate in the battle between the same level. There is no doubt about this. And for tomorrow's battle, almost all the higher-ups of the continent will be present. If they win, they will be proud, and it will be on the continent's level. Zhou Xiaoduo will also enter the eyes of the higher-ups from now on. To a certain extent, from tomorrow onwards, Zhou Xiaoduo's true starting point will be. Zhou Xiaoduo has prepared in advance. Even if it's just a little bit of preparation, it will make this path much smoother. If his path is smoother, our Gao family will be smoother. The Hidden Dragon Martial School will also be smoother in the future. You and I will also be smoother and more glorious. This is a win-win situation. How can we not help when it's convenient to help others? Gao Chaoer leaned against the back of the seat. Her bright eyes looked at the dim road in front of her, and she said softly, turn on the lights. Look further. Chapter 662. Gao Changxiang immediately changed the light. Sure enough, it became a little brighter in front of him, and he could see further. Gao Changxiang thought carefully about Gao Chaoer's words. It was very normal, as if she was just reminding him to change the light when driving, but why did it feel so meaningful? Gao Chaoer murmured, our Gao family has disciples in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades who are studying. How many of them can participate in tomorrow's meeting? Gao Changxiang smiled bitterly, I'm afraid not. They didn't even enter the top 10 in their respective classes. How can they participate in this battle? Gao Chaoer said indifferently, I don't expect them to participate. I just want them to understand that since they don't have the ability, they should establish the position of weaklings in their hearts early on. Otherwise, they will be unconvinced and cause trouble that can't be resolved. The current Gao family can't withstand any more storms. Gao Changxiang said it can't be, right? Gao Chaoer's eyes became cold. She said indifferently, now many people still can't see the situation clearly. They still think that Fenghai's Gao family is still the top family in Fenghai and can still look down on the world. This kind of mentality must be put to an end. If necessary, I will use my identity as the family's proxy arbitrator to punish a few people. She said indifferently, for example, Gao Junlong. Gao Changxiang was silent like a cicada in winter. Gao Junlong was the current #1 genius of the Gao family. He was currently a 4th grade student in the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts Academy. He was proud and arrogant, and felt that the family's act of defecting to Zhuoxiao Duo was a great humiliation. He had said more than once that the family elder was old and muddle-headed, and that he believed in strange things like demonists bewitching people. Gao Chengxiang could only sigh in his heart. The more he interacted with this cousin of his, the more he understood what kind of person she was, especially now that she had just taken over the family's power, and was eager to establish her power. When a new broom sweeps clean, Gao Junlong jumped out and gave Gao Qiao a chance to establish her power. However, in the hearts of Zhuoxiao Duo and Li Chenglong, this matter was considered differently. Zhuo, what do you think? Li Chenglong asked. Zhuoxiao Duo pondered for a moment and said, "It's reasonable for Gao Qiao to say this. Right now, her position overlaps with ours. She's thinking for us as well as for herself. The current situation is clear. As long as there are people of the same realm who challenge us, the two of us will be the first to bear the brunt. Those who have to go on the field, try your best to ensure victory." Li Chenglong nodded. Yes. Gao Qiao isn't here to remind us of the continent's honor and disgrace, nor is she here to remind us of the battle at the border. Instead, she is reminding us that after this battle, the two of us will have a very high chance of entering the eyes of the higher-ups. Zhuoxiao Duo said soberly. Li Chenglong slapped his thigh. Exactly. Zhuoxiao Duo pondered for a moment and said, "Swollen, what do you think?" Li Chenglong thought about it seriously for a long time before he said, "First, we definitely can't lose." Zhuoxiao Duo nodded. That was for sure. If he lost, it would be too embarrassing. But we can't win too happily. Li Chenglong grinned and said, "What's our cultivation level now? No matter how talented and dazzling we are still 2 primordial core cultivators. When primordial core cultivators go to the battlefield, they will at most be foot soldiers. When nascent soul cultivators go to the battlefield and join the suicide squad, they will have a chance to win an official position just like Teacher Qin." But Teacher Qin wasn't only unafraid of death back then. He was afraid of not dying. Just like the old saying, if you don't fear the dead, how can you fear death? It's probably because of this mentality that Teacher Qin miraculously survived and even became one of the top 10 fugitives. But we can't. Li Chenglong moved closer to Zhuoxiaoduo's ear. Now that we have entered the eyes of the higher-ups, the chances of cultivation resources, training grounds, and territory will increase a lot. But with that, the danger will also increase a lot. With our small bodies now, how can we withstand that kind of training? Isn't that right, Zhuo? Zhuoxiao Duo thought deeply. So we have to win, but we can't win too easily. We just have to work a little harder than others and get lucky a little, and that's enough. Li Chenglong whispered. Of course we have to enter the eyes of the higher-ups, but we can't enter with the attitude of a peerless genius. Instead, we should fight steadily and surely and be careful. A gentleman doesn't stand under a collapsing wall. Zhuoxiao Duo was overjoyed. Swollen's analysis is reasonable. Let's do as you say. Safety first, safety first. Everything else is just an external matter. It's not important, not important. Zhuoxiao Duo originally had this plan. Now Li Chenglong's advice made him more determined to develop his strength in a wretched way. Li Chenglong was proud. How can I not know what you are thinking? But we are the same kind of people. That's what we all think. Zhuo, what do you think is the best time for us to come out of seclusion? Li Chenglong wasn't without fantasies. Which man didn't fantasize about suddenly becoming famous and awe-inspiring in the 3 continents? Zhuoxiao Duo rubbed his bald chin and pondered. Li Chenglong rubbed his bald head and pondered. After a long time, Zhuoxiao Duo probed. What do you think of the Skysoar realm? Is it safe enough? Li Chenglong was startled. I think the profound returning realm is enough. Profound returning realm won't do. Profound returning realm won't do. Zhuoxiao Duo shook his head. I don't know what realm is above the Skysoar realm. Maybe a higher realm will be safer. Li Chenglong was stunned and speechless for a long time. Do you want to cultivate? No, right now. Rest. Tomorrow you must show your most cultured and refined image. By the way, don't forget to circulate your cultivation tonight to let your hair grow longer. You are the sect master, so you must pay attention to your image, Shuo Duo encouraged. Okay. Li Qinglong agreed. The two looked at each other and smiled. Nothing needed to be said. Tomorrow they had to show the attitude of unparalleled young master in this world. Once their image as the embryonic form of a scholarly general was carved into the hearts of the people, it would be hard to erase. If the higher-ups wanted to choose someone to risk their life, it would be best to choose someone like Xiang Chong. With their temperaments, they should stay behind the scenes and strategize. Safety first, life is more important. It's decided. Let's do it. Gao Qiao naturally did not know that these two fellows had originally planned to cut the Gordian knot and end the battle as quickly as possible at the beginning of the next day. However, her reminder had instead caused these two fellows to walk on completely different paths. Early the next morning, in the entire Hidden Dragon High School, every teaching building had bright windows and clean tables. Inside and outside the school, there was not a speck of dust. Even the leaves on the towering trees were clean. Under the reflection of the sun, they flickered with a golden light. The blue sky was clean. Occasionally, white clouds floated by. In the school, the sound of students practicing martial arts was loud and neat. The sound of fighting rose and fell one after another. It was picturesque. The loudspeakers of the Hidden Dragon High School were playing the classic military song, Blood Falls from the Sky. Gu Luoyan's cold voice carried a faint sadness. Her deep and affectionate voice reverberated in the air. Yi Chongqing and the other higher-ups of the school had been looking forward to it for a long time. Finally, at 8 o'clock sharp, many people slowly descended from the sky like clouds in the sky. From the beginning to the end, there was no intimidating aura. Not many people noticed anything strange. However, these people were divided into three groups. Yi Chongqing found it strange. The leader of the group in the middle was Minister Ding from the Martial Arts Department. Beside him were three middle-aged men in military uniforms. They were the marshals of the East, West, and North Armies, Dongfang Zhongyang, Ximen Lai, and Beigong Hao. As for the others, Yi Chongqing and the others didn't know any of them. And there seemed to be a lot of young people among them. For a moment, the principals couldn't help but feel confused. What was Minister Ding's status? Why did he bring so many young men and women with him? Looking at them, there were about 40 to 50 people. However, only Minister Ding, the three marshals, and the three adjutants behind them were the older ones. The others were all young people. The women were all beautiful and charming. The men were all handsome and outstanding. As for the 40 to 50 people on the left, they didn't know any of them. It seemed like there were only a few profound-level cultivators leading them. Looking to the right, they had the least people. There were only 10 of them. 3 middle-aged men and 3 young people. They didn't know any of them either. This was simply Yi Chongqing's heart was filled with confusion at this moment. This shouldn't be happening. By right, he should know all the people who came for inspection. Why did he only know 4 of them? And he only knew 2 of them from their portraits. Vice Principal Cheng, Vice Principal Liu, and the others were all dumbfounded. There were also only 4 familiar faces in their eyes, Minister Ding and the 3 marshals. As for the others, he didn't know any of them. The only ones he had seen in real life were Minister Ding and Marshal Dongfang. As for Marshal Ximen and Marshal Beigong, they had only seen them on TV or in their portraits. Everyone landed on the ground. The music echoed in the sky. Most of them were in a daze. On the day you left, it was snowing. You said that your heart was home. Behind you was the country. On the day you came back, it was raining blood. In the photo, you were smiling peacefully. That was my youth. You protected your home. You protected your country. You protected everything, but you won't protect me anymore. Gu Luoyan's cold and sad voice echoed in the air. The marshals stood there quietly, listening to this song. No one understood this song more deeply than them. For so many years, so many men had walked onto the battlefield and never returned. The piles of bones on the battlefield, the tombstones in the cemetery, were the memories of so many girls. It was the happiness of a lifetime. Chapter 663. After a long time. The song ended. Everyone sighed softly in unison. The complicated emotions in their hearts made the atmosphere a little quiet. Then Department Head Ding came up to Yi Chongqing with a smile on his face. But Yi Chongqing felt that Department Head Ding's smile was a little strange. The strange feeling in his heart became more and more intense. Department Head Ding. Yi Chongqing bowed respectfully. Greetings, Marshal Shiman, Marshal Beigong. Chongqing, you did well. Department Head Ding looked like he had gone through a lot. He was tall, at least 1.8 meters tall. He was a little thin, his hair was a little gray, and his face was thin. His entire body was filled with the natural elegance of Sun Sun. When he walked, he was steady and elegant. Marshal Dongfang laughed and said, Chongqing, you did well. All of you are very good. After leaving the East Army, you did not embarrass the East Army. Very good, very good. It was a very normal compliment, but Yi Chongqing, Xiang Quangren, Chang Gaing, and Lu Yichuan felt a sudden warmth in their hearts. Their noses were sour, and they almost burst into tears. Ever since they left the East Army because of their injuries until now, so many years of bitterness and sadness rushed into their hearts. For a moment, they were so emotional that they could not speak. Finally, Yi Chongqing forced himself to calm down and said in a trembling voice, Department Head Ding, Marshal, please come in and talk. Then they were led into the school's big reception room. What Yi Chongqing could not understand the most was, everyone behind him had actually followed him in. It was as if they were strolling leisurely in a courtyard. It was as if they were strolling in their own backyard as they walked in leisurely. Yi Chongqing's heart was extremely depressed. The reception room, even though it was the reception room of the Hidden Dragon High School, it was not a meeting room. How could there be so many chairs when more than 100 people came in? The vice principals frowned. These young people did not know how to be polite. They really did not know which sect they were from. How could they be so ill-mannered? If it was his own disciple, he would have beaten him to death. When Minister Ding saw this, he smiled awkwardly and said, Chongqing, let's find a bigger place. Yi Chongqing was also a picky person, so he naturally wouldn't ask such a stupid question like, who are these people? Don't you see that even Minister Ding has some misgivings? He must have a powerful background. Minister Ding was trying to save face for the other party. Yi Chongqing hurriedly said with a smile, it was my fault for not thinking things through. Sigh, I'm getting old and I'm always muddle-headed. I didn't prepare in advance. In a moment, I must punish myself with 3 cups of alcohol to apologize to everyone. He hurriedly led a large group of people directly to the large conference room. Vice Principal Lu was at the back of the group. He quietly left the group and took some time to arrange the tea. Originally, he did not prepare enough tea. The principals couldn't figure it out no matter how much they thought about it. Where did these young people come from? It wasn't Minister Ding himself who had come. And the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies. If it was those hidden sects that were powerful to a certain extent, Minister Ding's misgivings could be ignored. But why didn't even the 3 commander-in-chiefs say anything? Where did they come from? Why were they so awesome? At this moment over at the Starlight Mountain Range, a burly figure stood at the highest point, 1 foot stepping on a big rock that protruded out. Visually, this person was at least 2.4 meters tall. His long hair was like seaweed in the sea, dancing in the strong wind at the top of the mountain. Just by standing there, he naturally gave off an aura of, who else can be the hero of the world but me? It was as if the mountains and valleys, the common people of the world, and countless experts all bowed their heads in front of him. Beside him there were more than 10 people. And Minister Nan Zhengqian was among them. At this moment Minister Nan was trying his best to straighten his chest. Silver yuan qi faintly rose around him as he stood in front of this devil-like burly man. Minister Nan was more than 2 meters tall. He had a burly figure and could be considered a huge man. But at this moment, standing in front of the other party, although he tried his best to maintain an equal posture, he was still unable to do so. His aura was obviously suppressed by the other party, and the burly man opposite him clearly did not deliberately show any aura. He did not even use any spiritual force or star yuan qi. Just by standing there with his physical body, He was naturally invincible. No hero in the world can stand side by side with me. Disdain for all. Senior Hong's cultivation base is becoming more and more unfathomable. Department head Nan sighed softly, a look of respect on his face. Opposite him was the Flood Witch. The Flood Witch's bronze face did not show any expression. She just said lightly, "Today we are not here to fight. As a junior, even if your aura is weak in front of me, you don't have to care too much." Minister Nan took a deep breath and said, "Senior is right. How can Nan Zhengqian not know this truth? But as the commander-in-chief of the army, I must face Senior's power head-on. Even if my body is broken, I must face it head-on. Otherwise, when we meet on the battlefield in the future, won't you be defeated before the battle?" The Flood Witch said lightly, "Even if you face me head-on in the future, you will still be defeated. There is no luck." Nan Zhengqian smiled faintly and said, "But at least I will be defeated with my life on the line. My aura will not weaken before the battle, and I will be defeated without a fight." The Flood Witch smiled appreciatively and said, "Well said. You are indeed worthy of being the commander-in-chief of the Southern Army." He turned around and asked, "Is the banquet ready?" On the opposite side, Emperor Zhaixing, dressed in green, floated to the top of the mountain. "Flood, if you want to drink, you can drink at any time." The Flood Witch smiled with her hands behind her back. "Emperor is too polite." Suddenly, she frowned and turned around immediately. Looking at the man in golden clothes behind her, her eyes suddenly revealed a strange expression, with a hint of anger. Dan Kong, Lai Hua, Bing Ming. Where did they go? Dan Kong, Lai Hua, and Bing Ming were the few great wizards who were closest to the Flood Witch in the Umno Alliance. Emperor Feng didn't understand and said with a smile, "Those guys can't stay idle at all." Dong Feng and the others said they were going to inspect something. Lai Hua's sister-in-law said she was going shopping in the city. So the three of them went together. The Flood Witch's face darkened visibly, with anger rising faintly. She said gloomily, "It's not your own house, why are you running around? All of you are so undisciplined. What are you doing? Have you forgotten your own identity?" Emperor Feng and the other great wizards all lowered their heads and didn't speak, but they couldn't help but feel strange. Wasn't this a very normal thing? Their original intention this time was to come out and have fun. Moreover, they were going there for serious business. The Flood Witch said coldly, "Hurry up and call them back. There's a space relic here, such an important matter." But they ignored it and ran away like this. When they go back, they will be punished by the family. Emperor Feng hurriedly took out his phone and called. After a while, he raised his head with a wonderful expression. This is strange, all of them have turned off their phones. None of them have turned on their phones. The Flood Witch took a deep breath, and her aura rose, causing the sky to change color. Emperor Zhaixing laughed and said, "It's rare for them to come to the astral souls. Let them have fun. It's the same for us to drink first. I believe the great wizards will know their limits." The Flood Witch's eyes were gloomy, as if she was suppressing her anger. She said coldly, "Did I come here from hundreds of thousands of miles just to drink?" She snorted coldly, flicked her sleeves and turned around. Her aura surged inexplicably, as if it was going to erupt at any time. Emperor Zhaixing was dissatisfied, and it was obvious in his words. He murmured, "Why are you pretending? If you're not here to drink, why are you here? Why are you pretending in front of me?" The Flood Witch turned around abruptly and growled, "You want to fight?" This growl instantly darkened the sky. In everyone's perception, it was as if a peerless, ferocious beast that could devour the world had suddenly opened its huge mouth. It was horrifying. Even Emperor Zhaixing felt a tightness in his chest, and he was extremely shocked. He didn't expect the Flood Witch's strength to improve so much after she transformed into the mortal dust this time. However, the star-plucking monarch felt even more gloomy. "I didn't say anything and I only asked you to drink. Why are you suddenly so angry? It's as if I've opened your scars and touched your reverse scale. Are you anxious?" Emperor Zhaixing said angrily. "Why are you anxious? Why are you so anxious?" The Flood Witch also knew that she had lost her composure. She snorted and said in a muffled voice, "I'm not anxious." Emperor Zhaixing snorted and rolled his eyes. Flood, I feel that you've changed a lot after you returned from transforming into the mortal dust this time. This was the destiny-binding array. It couldn't be offset by the mortal dust transformation array alone. As for the godson Zhuoxiao duo, he was closely related to the Flood Witch's luck. The better Zhuoxiao was luck, the higher his achievements, the smoother his luck, and the better his luck, the higher the Flood Witch's luck. Of course, at the current stage, the great Flood Shaman would sometimes return his own luck to Zhuoxiao duo, but this would not affect his own strength. After all, the difference between the two of them was like heaven and earth. A hair on the other side was like a mountain. But in general, it was the godson and the godson. One was extracting the flood, and the other was replenishing the flood. Some people might say that since it was so, why not just kill the one who was extracting the Flood Witch's luck? This idea was very tempting, but it couldn't be put into action. There was no possibility of success. The reasons were very mysterious. First, the Flood Witch only knew that she had a godson, but she didn't know that she had a godson who was extracting her luck. Of course, he knew that Zhuoxianglu had a son and a daughter, but in fact, the Flood Witch had only seen the son, not the daughter. The second, more practical reason was that even if he knew, he couldn't do anything. He even had to take the initiative to avoid this situation. This was because when Zhuoxiao duo connected Zhuoxiaonian's luck with the Phoenix Pulse Soul formation, he also made a connection for himself. He also let himself bear a part of the Phoenix Pulse's karma. This led to a constant result. Zhuoxiaonian was extracting the Flood Witch's luck. After the extraction, Zhuoxiaonian and Zhuoxiao duo benefited. After Zhuoxiao duo benefited, in addition to his other benefits, the Flood Witch's luck would be reversed. The stronger the flood, the more Zhuoxiaonian could extract, and the stronger Zhuoxiaonian would be. The stronger Zhuoxiaonian was, the more benefits Zhuoxiao duo, who was connected to Zhuoxiao duo, would benefit. The stronger Zhuoxiao duo was, the more the flood would be fed back to the Flood Witch, and the stronger the flood would be. And the stronger the flood was, the more Zhuoxiaonian would be extracted. Cough, cough, cough. This was probably a fixed complete cycle. The 3 cycles were endless. If there was a flaw in any cycle, all 3 would be damaged. Their luck would leak, and it would be difficult for them to be perfect. This was a situation that all 3 parties had to avoid. When Zhuoxianglu asked Zhuoxiao duo to be his godson, he didn't know that Zhuoxiaoduo's formation had such an effect. Well, even now Zhuoxianglu still didn't know. His original intention was only to restrain this god of plagues. Because their luck was linked, when Zhuoxiao duo was weak, the luck of the flood would only continuously replenish Zhuoxiao duo. When they didn't need to replenish each other's luck, Zhuoxiao duo would basically grow to the level of the left and right heavenly kings. Zhuoxianglu's plan was naturally very successful, but he really didn't expect that his son would become even more successful on the basis of this success. And this was something that both father and son didn't know. Of course, the Flood Witch didn't lose much. In the future, it was hard to say who would benefit more. There were gains and losses and vice versa. Point 2 flowers bloomed. Well, one on each side. Over at the Hidden Dragon High School, Yi Chongqing had finished his routine report. It didn't take long. From start to finish, it only took half an hour to report the situation. Yi Chongqing didn't just feel like he was sitting on pins and needles, he was also full of displeasure. The group of youngsters sitting beside the higher-ups actually yawned as they listened. Some of them even had tears in their eyes. Damn it. What kind of upbringing did each and every one of them have? Principal Yi and the few vice principals cursed in their hearts. Each and every one of them looked like dogs, but why were they acting like birds? Why didn't they even have the patience for half an hour? Some of them stretched their long legs and slumped in their chairs as if they were paralyzed. There was also a guy who was telling a joke to the beauty beside him. No one knew what he said, but the beauty burst out laughing. Hence, this guy raised his head and laughed proudly. Was he crazy? What a serious occasion this was. What a serious occasion this was. Just how many big shots were present at this event? Why couldn't they behave themselves? However, Minister Ding turned a blind eye to it. The three marshals also sat upright and still, as if they didn't care. Qi Chongqing used his greatest self-control to finally finish the report. During this period of time, the Hidden Dragon High School has indeed achieved great results. As usual, Minister Ding had to give a summary speech. Behind him, a red-haired youngster said lazily, "Minister Ding, it's said that the Hidden Dragon High School is the most awesome of the three martial schools. I wonder how awesome it is." This voice was lazy, full of ridicule, suspicion, and disdain. Hearing this, Xiang Quangren wanted to jump up and punch him to death. Beside him, a youngster who looked like he was 18 or 19 years old also curled his lips and said, "But we also didn't expect that the Hidden Dragon High School is no different from those normal schools. Report, 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 it's all official stuff. Listening to it makes my butt hurt." Another 18 or 19 years old, who looked very delicate and delicate like a girl, but when he opened his mouth, he was not delicate at all. That's right, that's right. We came all the way to the Hidden Dragon High School, not to listen to reports. Whether it's a mule or a horse, just pull it out for a walk. Just bragging. Who doesn't know how to brag? The red-haired youngster laughed loudly and said very arrogantly, "If it's bragging, I also know how to do it. With one order I can make the entire UMNO alliance come. Ha ha ha, millions of troops will come at my command. No one dares to disobey." The thin and delicate youngster also laughed. That day when I returned home, I saw my wife being looked down upon. With one order, 300 million UMNO alliance experts immediately rushed over and knelt down to call her mistress. The white-clothed youngster who had a female companion beside him couldn't stand it anymore. He said, "Lying through your teeth, do you have a wife? You're a single dog." Immediately, another youngster couldn't stand it anymore. He curled his lips and said, "Do you know what bragging is? It's talking about those things that didn't happen that can't happen. Only you have a wife, you think you're great? You're so awesome after finding a wife? So what if you have a wife? Isn't she just a ba-air?" The white-clothed youngster's female companion was unhappy. "You want to be a ba-air, but you don't even have a girlfriend." When the white-clothed youngster saw his companion helping him, he became more and more spirited. He laughed and pointed at them one by one. A 10,000-year-old single dog, no girlfriend. Hugging a pillow at night, crying the whole night. Ha ha ha. The red-haired youngster was furious. "I have a wife." The white-clothed youngster laughed. "Then let's go together. They're all single dogs, all envious." The red-haired youngster's anger immediately turned into joy. He said, "Not bad, not bad. They're all single dogs, all envious." He laughed and suddenly said, "This scene, I'm filled with inspiration. I can't help but compose a poem." As he spoke, he shook his head and recited, "Poor single dogs, no girlfriend for 100,000 years. If you want to ask why, it's because they're either poor or ugly." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.